Welcome everybody back to the Actuality, to The Hole in the World, a actual play of Monte Cook Games' Invisible Sun. As always, I am joined by four wonderful players. Starting to my right, playing Gavriel is...
It's me. It's Marcy, Experimental Madness, playing everybody's favorite snarky iconoclastic apostate.
And to her right is playing Twigg.
That would be me, Hopper, playing, I don't know, probably nobody's favorite, perpetually hangry, gallant apostate, which I don't bring up enough, but I am gallant.
Not gallant, gallant.
Goddamn right.
Playing our resident Vance. Oh gosh, I need to switch a couple of those windows. Playing our resident. So let's start with Maurice instead. Playing our resident Weaver.
Hello, I'm Bill, and Maurice is he is well, I'll just read it off the thing. He is a stalwart empath of the Order of Weavers who turns tales into reality.
Which is a super nice ability to have. And now we're back to normal. And so now to Bill's right, or Maurice's right, playing our resident Vance, Kyrrie.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm Marissa. I play Kyrrie von Hollingsworth, the aromatic stoic who understands the words, first assistant librarian of the Order of the Vance, resident linguistics nerd, and guardian of a grimoire.
Oh, excellent.
We have to get business cards.
There you go. Guardian of the grimoire is my
tagline. And as always, I am your humble GM, Zach, otherwise known as Great Zamino. And last time we played, a lot of stuff happened. First off, you guys met the acquaintance of a very interesting, local god. By the name of Mara, the reclining god, who is the Blue Sun Warden, and the Blue Sun being the world of dreams and ideas throughout the actuality. And over on Gavriel's side, you guys met her brother Jacob in Shadow, which I don't know how that family reunion went.
It's fine.
It's all fine. We're all fine here. How are you? And not only that, but you guys were approached. Gavriel, you were also approached by a spirit from inside of the Topiary district after you guys had basically cleaned the ghosts out of the etheric radio station there. And in addition, you guys did a little bit of research on the person that Mara, the Blue Sun Warden, wanted you guys to return to the Blue Sun, a fellow by the name of Basil Fictorum, which she declared that you guys already knew about because you know him under the name of Basil Cotton, who is a fictional detective in the world of Satyrine, in the city of Satyrine, rather. So, how's everybody doing?
So all right, we all went to bed. I'm gonna just put that out there right now. And then in the night, Maurice slept soundly but woke up early to do an ephemera incantation to receive something from the universe. So he's up early, he's made some tea, and is just kind of meditating, waiting to receive this information.
So a couple of things are going to happen because of that. And the first thing we're going to do is we are going to turn a card from the Sooth deck to see just how your day starts. Oh, this is interesting. And the first card that we pull is the Forgotten Prisoner, which is an apprentice of mysteries, rats, mirrors, and stone, meanings, injustice, bad fortune, memory loss, something lost. Is there really such a thing as justice? The forgotten prisoner would say no. How long has he been there? We don't know, and neither does he. His dank cell is wrapped in gloom and lost deep in some dungeon or high above in a locked tower. His stomach cramps with hunger, and his muscles ache from confinement. He has lost the world, and the world has lost him. As the apprentice of mysteries, he himself is a mystery. What's his identity? Why is he locked away? What crime, if any, did he commit? I actually think this is really interesting. I think this is great because you guys are trying to find a hidden figure in the form of Basil Fictorum for Mara, who may or may not be his jailer. So yeah, so we're gonna open with that. Anybody who the apprentice of mysteries, rats, mirrors, and stones. Unfortunately, that I believe that means that all actions while under the guise of the apprentice are at a -1. So any spells that you cast, I believe, in particular. So if you belong to one of those families and are not a apostate, bear that in mind. So that being said, let's also pull from the ephemera deck and see what you draw from the incantations. All right, bear with me. Okay. Excellent, excellent, excellent.
Hey, Zach, let's talk about ephemera. I don't think we've ever done this before on the stream.
So the interesting thing about incantations in particular is if you do not have or currently not carrying your maximum number of ephemera, which ephemera being these powerful one-use magical items, you may commune with the universe and find the universe will typically give you an incantation, something completely at random that may or may not become useful to you, and you can hold on to that incantation for as long as you have the room for it. The moment you pick up, say, another ephemera and it exceeds your current limit, that goes basically inert. So you kind of lose access to it. These things are use it or lose it. And that being said, I'm going to scroll randomly and I'm going to pick the most interesting option or the most suitable option that I see on the page. Okay. All right. Oh, wow. Okay. Fighting for a presaged future. Level 5. A deck of sooth cards that you hold in your hand leap forth and form a humanoid shape that attempts to grab and strangle a close target. If successful, the attack inflicts 5 points of damage on this round, 3 points of damage on the next round, and 1 point of damage on the third round. Then the cards fall to the ground, inert. Its color is green. So Maurice, take that.
Holy shit! So I'll say that in this incantation, Maurice was kind of like mindlessly like shuffling this actual deck of sooth cards that was in the hideout, and was kind of doing the bridge and just kind of shuffling and then looked at the cards and realized what he was holding. So that's Maurice early morning.
Excellent. So you think that you are the first one to get up, and right around mid-morning, you hear footsteps outside the front door of this safe house. And Twigg, about what time do you arrive back?
I don't think too far after sunrise, but like an hour after sunrise. So what I don't actually know how time works here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Maurice, about how early of a riser are you?
I'd say typically I'm dawn or just after for regular day and work, but this was a 4 or 5 a.m. day to do the meditation.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So you think that actually you guys have been sleeping in pretty close quarters, I think, and I think that probably you're absorbed in this meditation and you don't realize that Twigg is missing until they come into the room. So yeah. How do you feel about that?
Welcome back.
He just gives a very like very past some sort of mock salute.
Well, I mean, are you hungry? Let me make you some tea. And Maurice gets up to start making tea, and then he'll give it a beat before he turns around to Twigg to see if Twigg is receptive.
Yeah, that would be lovely. Thank you.
So Maurice says nothing while he makes the tea, but he will go ahead and do the Hestia, just in case, like a hedge against an agitated Twigg. So this is the tea ritual I do in the Acclamation Center for everyone who's just come from the grave, to get them to calm down. So I'll sit down at the table and slide a mug towards Twigg and say, "Well, where'd you go?"
Just out and about. Twigg will take a seat and not sip the tea yet because the tea is way too damn hot. But I'm not going to complain about it, but just be like, "Ooh, that's very hot." And then check like 10 seconds later. No, that's still very hot. Just out and about.
Topiary district is beautiful, isn't it?
It really is.
Not without its dangers, though.
I mean, that's pretty much everywhere, especially everywhere here. That's here.
Yeah, I mean, do you think it's wise to go out by yourself, unannounced?
I don't think it's wise to do much of anything these days. Staying here, there's people trying to murder me. Out there, there's people trying to murder me. In my dreams, there's people trying to murder me. It's all very
I understand. I mean, you're probably not much safer in here than you are out there, but you do have 3 people here who have your back, and we're told by a god to keep you safe.
Well, I guess you're not doing a great job. Twig's like, and the tone is not intended to be mean, but it's just kind of like, the fuck you want from me, dude?
And Maurice has broken eye contact, is kind of staring into his tea.
Are you guys out in the common area?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, Zach, really quickly, I'm gonna roll to see whether my spells, my 2 consistent spells, go away.
Yeah.
And so, Plentiful Pockets does not, and then Culpable Aura does not.
Excellent. Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, the entire time that Twigg is telling you this, Maurice, you kind of feel that, I guess it's completely innocent. Whatever they were doing, wandering off into the district is fine. It's probably fine.
So Maurice recovers and looks up from his tea and says, you technically never had a true first day at the Acclamation Center. I know you've kind of figured out what's going on, kind of piecemeal, but there's a lot I can tell you about what this place is and what we're doing. For example, what do you know about the Orders of Magic?
I know what they are.
Enlighten me.
There's Weavers, Vances, Goetics, and people who choose not to be put into boxes.
And then also Makers as well.
Oh yeah, those two.
It's okay. We're always a learner at some point. It took me a long time to get this place. For a while, I was an apostate simply because I wasn't really getting magic at all. I just thought I was outside of all of the established orders. Weavers are interesting. They're a lot more accepting than maybe you might think. I'd like to tell you more about it, but maybe the best thing to do is to show you. And Maurice pulls out the invitation that he has and hands it to Twigg. Twigg, he's holding it out and waiting for you to take it.
Yeah, Twigg will reach out and take it and look at it.
I was actually hoping that this would be an unwitting, that you would eat it unwittingly.
I mean, it has been a little while.
I will see what happens when you touch the invitation.
Yeah. So I'm gonna roll a dice to see exactly how much control. Like I think rules is written like I probably can have complete control, but Twig doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So I'll say on a 10, on the closer side to 10, I don't eat it. Yes, so I managed to not eat it, except when you get it back, all the capital letters are lowercase.
Cool.
Or at least cut off.
So I hand the invitation to you, and as you begin to read, I say, I received this just the other day from my old teacher. Haven't heard from him in a few years, and he's invited me to see his ascendance to the next level. I would like to extend to you the offer to come and see what it's all about. See if maybe you don't have a place there. See if maybe the threads that tie together reality can't make up a framing for the new world you find yourself in. I don't want to underemphasize how insane it is to find ourselves interacting with deities that are real. Yes, it was a dream, but it was not a dream. What a gift it is to be shown a purpose. Don't you agree?
I think we have very different perceptions of what purpose means, because being told to do something is not the same thing as a purpose. It's an instruction.
That's true. I am open to instruction. The instruction to protect you. What are you open to?
It's right around that moment when you ask that question. Kyrrie, I imagine how early of a riser are you?
Well, Kyrrie is pretty early, usually a pretty early riser as things goes, but last night she was undertaking dream study, so I think given that she probably wanted to split that time between the Basil Cotton books and studying for her upcoming Vancian exam, she may have slept in a little this evening. But dream study enables her to effectively separate her spirit form from her body. So while her body is resting, her spirit form is actually like sitting at a desk reading books. So I imagine what may have occurred is, as Maurice, as you're having this conversation with Twigg, if you had been looking, you see a very ghostly, pale version of Kyrrie pass through the door, maybe sniffing the air. She's smelled the tea, and that always coaxes her from the books and suggests that she should take a study break. So she sort of floats up to you and is looking at Maurice's note from behind his shoulder.
And I think that you are kind of, as you are emerging from sleep, you are kind of fighting. It's kind of like walking in a light current. As you kind of observe everything that is in this room, I think that your spirit form has a little bit of difficulty because you're not essentially like a ghost. Mm-hmm. You can't really affect the world around you. You kind of just, there's this kind of ethereal quality to you, and you are being pulled back into your body, but you do see the invitation, and you do see you see both Twigg and Maurice having a conversation, and you begin to hear it as you are beginning to wake up from slumber. And it's kind of like, I think that at this point, it's almost like, how when you hear the very one word in like a phrase of a song when you're waking up or something, that it kind of punctuates the end of the dream. I think that question that Maurice poses to Twigg is the thing that wakes you up.
What are you open to?
And so, yeah, I think you wake up, and that is when you see the moth, and that is when the message is delivered.
Perfect.
What do you do?
I think coming out of that dream and getting that message, I'm gonna, table that for a second and try to join the conversation with Maurice and Twigg before it's over. I am a little rattled by it. I think I'm gonna, take some time to ponder what my next move should be upon having received it. But I think Kyrrie's gonna come out into the common room, sort of yawning, but fully caught up as to what's going on. She's going to kind of rub the sleep out of her eyes and go, "Oh, Maurice, isn't it a bit early to be trying to make converts of Twigg?"
And Maurice flashes you a big smile and says, it sucks to get old. I'll brew some more tea. And he walks into the other room, gets some more water.
I think Kyrrie's going to sort of come up and say, "Thanks, that's really lovely of you. I'm, trying to brush the sleep out of my eyes, and it was a long night of study, both in between trying to get these fictional books read and also trying to prepare for my upcoming exams. But I am curious. I was lured out here briefly before my spirit form rejoined my body, and what was that invitation that you were showing Twigg?"
Oh, and I, having received it back from Twigg, show it to you. It said, the leader of my past cell, Kyrrie, invited me to his ascendance to the next level of the order. It's pretty rare, and it's in 2 weeks. So I would like to attend if I can. And having once been somewhat of an apostate, it's not an incongruous step to explore what the Weavers have to offer.
Kyrrie's eyes light up at this mention of the ascendancy ceremony, and she goes, "Like a gala? Is this like a black tie formal event?"
And Maurice kind of, if he had to, would have kind of spit it out and like, no. I don't know, more like a coven kind of thing. It's, wear whatever you want, free spirit kind of thing.
Can we dress up?
Oh yeah, no one will stop you.
Kyrrie is thrilled because, as you may recall, she was a socialite in the Grey, and there's been somewhat of a dearth of events for her to attend of the type that she is used to. So I think this represents something where she could potentially go and have that very formal, fashionable experience that she misses a bit in the Grey.
And I'd be like, it's more like a church ceremony without any of the pomp, and food's not that great.
That's okay, I'll bring the pomp.
Oh.
I always do.
I think at that point you hear somebody laughing from behind the door who's been eavesdropping in on this conversation the entire time.
And Maurice looks over and smiles at Gav, says, "The gang's all here." Maurice will get kind of scraping the bottom of the provisions of this safe house. There is basically bread, toast, and butter, and a little sugar for the tea.
Yeah. I was gonna say, Gavriel, you are kind of basically, I think how long have you been awake?
Oh, a while. Things are a little bit rough for me the other day. I think that my soldier's instinct is to always kind of be on watch, so I tend to wake up earlier. It was kind of unusual for me to hear Maurice sort of like puttering around the house at the same time that I usually wake up, so I hung back a little bit just because I wanted to see what was going on with that, and I didn't anticipate then Twigg showing up at the same time. And by that point, I was already stuck behind this door, and it was going to get awkward if I actually did walk into the kitchen at that point. So, and then more people kept walking in, and then now here I am behind this door, listening in on everybody's conversation.
And Maurice catches none of this. And it's just like, oh, Gav's awake.
So there are two things that I would like. One is that, Kyrrie, I would like you to make a intellect roll based on your work in the dream study. I'm going to add 1 to your venture.
Solid.
Yeah, so this is to ascertain any interesting information you may have gleaned from your study of the Basil Fictorum novels.
Okay, lovely. That's an 8 on the dice.
Okay, so total 9. So I think with this, you do get a hidden knowledge. And the thing that is striking to you about Basil is Basil Fictorum, called Basil Cotton in the novels, is a very talented Visley, and his specialities seem to be everything having to do with locating objects and creatures within the actuality. And not only that, but you know that he is fairly handy with a pistol. There's kind of these kind of detective tropes that kind of meet with hard-boiled detectives, as well as kind of Sherlock Holmesian style, kind of Monsieur Poirot kind of a detectives that kind of mix together. And so I think that you kind of gather that these kind of facts about Basil as you are doing the research, and it's just kind of something that you kind of bear in mind. The second thing that happens is that as you are kind of prepping for the rest of the day, and all of you are kind of reacclimating and kind of reuniting in the kitchen, a envelope slides underneath the door, spirals up in the air, and floats right in front of your face, Kyrrie, about 2 feet away from you.
Can I try and catch it?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, so that's...
While this catch attempt is happening, Maurice is like, all colors drained from his face and says, well, now we need to move for sure. This isn't a safe place to be anymore.
So would we call this movement or physicality?
I would say, actually, I don't think it really requires you to make a roll. It seems to be waiting for you to grasp it.
Okay, so it's not about dexterity. Lovely. So I grab it instantly. Do I see anything recognizable about it?
Yeah, the very first thing you recognize is the fact that it is Vancian Order of the Vance letterhead. And do you open the envelope? And it is addressed to you, your full name. Okay. So you open the envelope, and there is a second smaller envelope in it, and there, wrapped over it, is a very formal letter with, again, that same Vancian letterhead, except this is more akin to the formal communications that go back and forth between the Order of the Vance members. In it, it says, "To whom it may concern, in recognizance of the extraordinary situation in which Madame Gavriel van Hollingsworth finds herself, The Order of the Vance is hereby administering your second-degree exam for the advancement to Velator within the privacy of your current whereabouts. When you are available and prepared to complete and execute your test, simply open the second envelope included. The proctor, in the form of a thought form, will be with you shortly, and you may complete your test in no longer than 3 hours' time. And that smaller envelope is sealed with what appears to be a glowing wax seal emblazoned with the symbol of the Order of the Vance.
I think Kyrrie just instantly gets sort of a spike of both excitement and anxiety. She's been looking forward to this exam for a long time, but of course she was under the presumption that she would have to go back to the campus and sit the exam with all the other aspiring Velators. There is, as many Vancian things, a very set and rigorous procedure for advancement, and that's of course what she had come to expect that she would be required to go through. And so, you know, she is very, very surprised and almost honored in and of itself by the fact that they're willing to administer sort of a take-home test situation for her in order to actually get the second degree promotion. But of course, she is, as with any test, also pretty anxious and wants to make sure, you know, that she's studied properly before she takes it and opens the envelope. And I think the presence of this envelope here in her hands right now really hits home for her. But there is going to have to be this moment that she opens it and takes the test, and that she will either pass or fail.
Yep. And not only that, the letter is signed, I believe it's Cantral Ardeno Bookridge.
Oh, Master Bookridge.
All right, what do you do?
Kyrrie, what was there? Was everything okay? Are we in danger?
Yeah. No, not at all, Maurice. I can see what this looks like, but actually, the Vances are programmed to be able to send correspondence that can find you wherever you are. So they don't know where I am. So don't worry that our location's been compromised. They've sent me my test.
Congratulations.
Well, I mean, I can't take it yet, but they're going to let me take it. Almost like a field promotion.
Must feel very proud.
Well, I'll feel prouder when I, become a Velator, but this is pretty big.
It is.
So they know where you are, but they don't know where you are. How does that work?
Magic.
It's to use a metaphor of the Grey, it's like they have my biometrics and can send me things based on that essence. And correspondence will be able to find me without the sender actually knowing where I am. I know that sounds a little bit dystopian, but I assure you it's perfectly safe.
Yeah, it does.
Perfectly safe.
So even if they don't know where you are, couldn't you just follow the letter?
If you knew that the letter was going to be sent at a particular time, perhaps.
I'd like to leave now.
Yeah,
So would I.
same. Your test was coming up for a while. You expected this letter, yes?
I didn't, in the sense that there wasn't a particular day I was expecting to take it.
And you were supposed to take it in person, right?
Yes.
But you knew it was forthcoming.
Well, I knew it was upcoming, the test.
The test, not the letter.
So
I still think we should leave. So I'm with you.
Yeah, I think we're in mutual agreement on this.
And Maurice looks a little embarrassed and is like, I've been wearing the same clothes for a few days. I can spruce this up if you want.
A sheltered life, everybody here leads. Same clothes for 3 days.
I mean,
Twig's trying to pretend they haven't been wearing the same thing for like longer than they've been in the actuality.
I'm pretty sure Gav is still like half in her military uniform and just like has like odds and ends of things that she's picked up from the Actuality.
And you get the sense that Maurice is ever so delicately telling you that you all stink a little bit. And I'm not sure how I do this mechanically, but I would like to, with everyone's consent and even input into their appearance, I would like to weave together the essence of heart with interaction, and to be socially presentable, and wind with grace to give everyone like an instant shower and clothing change.
Roll for bath time.
Roll for bath time.
What level of effect is that?
That's what I'm actually trying to figure out, because I'm not like altering a character's appearance is like I'm transmuting you. I'm not trying to transmute anybody. We're doing a fresh change of clothes and a dry shower in the Greyhound bathroom kind of thing.
Oh God.
All right, the magic. It's nicer than that.
In that case, I think what is happening is you are transmuting the actual objects. So I think that, let's see. Why don't we go ahead to create a visual illusion, create a full sensory illusion. Let's say that this is, you know what? I think that adding the presentation is like create a permanent item that can be held in one hand is level 4. So
okay.
So why don't you go ahead and give me, actually, let's say a level 5, just because you're applying it to everybody.
Twig's gonna take their coat off and make sure that it's not included in the spell.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good.
Kyrrie's going to look a little affronted, as though because Kyrrie religiously changes her clothes every day and has a very robust wardrobe of 30s inspired gowns that she wears constantly. And so the fact that she ever would need to have a forced hygienic check was very appalling to her.
And Maurice is like, I don't have to do you, just Gav and Twigg then.
Just the apostates.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Yes.
Delightful.
If you're confident you're going to get a change of clothes, okay.
Yeah.
So
Twig's just trying to pretend they've never been deloused before.
So actually, I was going to say, if you are only choosing the apostates and not yourself, you can knock that down to 4.
Oh, I'm definitely doing myself.
All right.
For sure. It's been 48 hours of running around, so we'll do 5, and here we go.
All right. How'd you do?
I got so 0 is the fail, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So wait.
Oh no.
Oh, you got flux?
I got flux.
Okay. All right. Oh man. Oh, some of this stuff is
Does something
really...
go drastically awry?
So yeah, no, I just spent all my sorcery points to do bad stuff.
So I think, oh man, all of this stuff, God, oh man, like some of this stuff is horrifying. Like lice-like insects suddenly infest your hair and clothing.
He's not that cool.
How is that?
No.
How is that not appropriate?
No, this is perfect, actually. All of your clothes lose their color temporarily. So you do this.
Oh my God, that's so good.
And you cast the spell, and everybody looks very refreshed and clean. And when you move to do the clothes next, everything turns monochromatic. It's almost like it's at the back of your mind that you cast this. And because you've cast a spell, but also because you have incurred flux, returning a card.
Oh my God.
I don't know how this looks any different than what I was already wearing.
Wait, was I left out of the spell?
You were left out.
Okay, so I'm currently the only one in color.
Oh, this is great. This is the Enticing Jewel. It is a level 2 spell that it accentuates the spell of invisible spells, or spells of the invisible sun. Meanings, greed, money, beauty, goals, success. The light at the end of the tunnel, the brass ring, the center of the target. The object of our desire lies before us in the form of the enticing jewel. We want it, we have to have it. It represents beauty, but the side of beauty that demands attention and probably possession. It is the beauty that can sometimes call to our darker natures. It brings out greed, ambition, and selfishness. So I think that everything focuses on it most of this time. This is one of our more positive cards that can be revealed It indicates success in one's endeavor. So I think that this success, it suggests beauty and wealth. So that beauty, but it comes at a price because of the flux. And so that said, there's a despair note here that I think we're going to use. Okay, that being noted, you may proceed. What do you guys plan to do next?
I'll look to Kyrrie and say, yeah, I can't ask you to carry, how many books was it in the series? Like 12 in the Basil Cotton series?
30.
There were
30.
30 so you're already carrying a grimoire. I can't possibly allow me, and I'll go grab the set.
Actually, Twigg just says, no, I got that. And,
no.
And I will deliberately not eat these. And I just open up my jacket, and I just grab book after book and just shove it into an interior pocket, one after the other.
Kyrie's just like, oh no, where has that jacket been? What are you doing?
Maurice is just like,
he
proud
just
papa.
cleaned this up though.
No, actually,
No,
the
it's
jacket is the
fine.
one
No,
thing.
the jacket was left out.
The jacket was deliberately. I have living things in there. I don't know what happens if you transmute a jacket full with stuff in it.
Maurice claps your back, like, that's creative, that's good. Maurice is real proud.
I love it.
But yeah, because so Plentiful Pockets lets me have hundreds of hidden pockets, some of which are far larger than they look, and I can store vast amounts, including items up to the size of anything I could carry in one hand.
Excellent. All right, you do that.
Vast amounts is such a specific
Yeah, I love
numbering system.
it. I have a jacket of holding. It's awesome.
All
Are you
right.
going to be able to find everything in there, Logavor?
Oh, what's that last thing? Yeah, I always know where everything is.
Amazing.
I love it.
It's on the car.
So Maurice is
Evidence. There you go.
Maurice is trying to remember who he's helped, who he's met at the Acclamation Center, who is now living their life in Lower Traverswood, which is where he wants to find Edith Cranston. So he's trying to remember somebody.
Why don't you go ahead and give me an intellect roll, and you can spend a hidden knowledge. And I'll say because actually I think that this is going to be, if you want to add to it, you can spend a hidden knowledge.
I'll absolutely spend the hidden knowledge, and spending the hidden knowledge just adds one to the adventure, or
Yeah, hidden knowledge, and then you can spend a bene if you'd like.
and a bene as well.
Okay.
So what's my target?
Let's say that the baseline target is 7.
And then I subtracted 2 from this, so I'm looking for 5 or better.
Yep.
0 again.
Oh,
Wow. Well,
boy.
On the
But
bright,
that's not a magic, right? Yeah.
that isn't a magical one, so you don't get flux. But I think yeah, unfortunately, you are straining your brain to try to remember what it is exactly that people have been telling you about this place. And one of the things that you know about Lower Traverswood is it is utterly unremarkable. There is an old joke about Lower Traverswood that goes, the reason that there is no Upper Traverswood is because it got bored and left. And so, yeah, this is probably the district that I think that because Kenroy was there, though. That's the other thing, is you do know probably somebody in your cell. You just wouldn't know anybody from the Acclamation Center.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, you're trying to find someone, a place to have our base of operations in this new section of the city.
Absolutely.
Zach, would my line of work have ever led me to that neighborhood?
I will say Lower Traverswood. I will say this. You can also make me an intellect roll. Same.
Oh, I'm
same
very good
challenge.
at those. Can you repeat the challenge rating for me?
7, and again, you can use a hidden knowledge if you'd like a better result.
I would like to use a hidden knowledge. I haven't done that yet, so we're gonna learn a thing. Because I have 13 of those. I might as well use one.
Yeah.
So what does that do? Does that add to my
venture?
roll?
Yeah. Gives you +1 to your venture, so you just hit, try to hit the target -1, plus whatever Bene. If you have an intellect Bene you'd like to use, you can do that too.
Considering I don't have a lot of those, I'm not going to. So that's a 5 on the dice with the hidden knowledge. It's a 6.
Okay. So you are just under the target, so I think it's a mixed result. And in this case, what you do know about Lower Traverswood is part of the reason that you probably think that Maurice is struggling is because in your line of work, you've learned that divination magic in particular, like Lower Traverswood is a very good place for bounties to hide. People who are being sought after can hide in Lower Traverswood because there's something about the district that makes it challenging for anybody outside of it to divine the location of other people inside of it. So it's a very good hiding place if you can stand the soul-crushing boredom.
That's so fucking good.
So as we're kind of shuffling ourselves out the door, Maurice kind of is pushing everyone out before him so he can close the door, and then kind of announces to the group, so I don't know exactly where we should go or where exactly to find Edith Cranston, but I can take us to Traverswood and we'll figure this out on the way. And Maurice starts leading the way. How far are we walking?
I think that you are taking the spine, and I think what would be very helpful for us is to have a map of
Yay!
Saturnine. And this is going to take a second just because it's being a little slow. But it's coming. Hey, there we go. Okay. So, the Lower Traverswood is located, I believe, I can pull up my own map here. It is... Alright, City of Saturnine. You are currently located in the Topiary district, which is probably, it's actually a little bit west of the Topiary district. So there is a pretty much clear shot directly to Lower Traverswood after maybe about 1.5 miles of walking. How do you guys want to get there?
Maurice seems to think it's okay to walk, and absent any suggestions is going to do that wordlessly.
Gav is always comfortable walking.
Yeah.
Since I have ingested a number of maps of the region, do I concur with Maurice's decision-making process on how we're getting there in terms of route?
Well, you do know that there is a rail that will typically take you to many of the stops here. The spine goes straight through the Marquis Quarter, so you're actually going to be taking side streets. There are just a number of spots that are clearly ruined Expanse, so you're going to want to be careful.
I'm fine with that.
Okay. So, yeah, so I would like, actually... How do we want to do this? Yeah, I think you begin moving down the main streets. And, yeah, I think that easily enough, because it's only 1.5 miles, like, there is some ruined Expanse in front of you, and it kind of looms over the main central road. I would actually like one of you, probably Gavriel, just because you've had experience as a tracker.
Mm-hmm.
I would like you to make a movement roll to see if you can find your way through the best way possible through the ruined Expanse.
Of course, and I will put a bene into that.
All right.
What's my venture?
I'm going to say this is going to be a 6. So you're going to look for a 5.
8 on the dice, 9 with the Bene.
Excellent.
There you
Okay.
go.
So all of you, as you are moving through the ruined expanse, there's something about it as you are moving through the area, Gavriel guiding you. It's very gray and oppressive. There's something about the quality of the light where the indigo sun is beating down on the rest of the city, but here it's almost as though it's like sepia. It's like the light is tinted in a way. Everything feels a little bit dustier. Everything feels a little bit more oppressive. And there are moments where you think, all of you, as you're moving through the ruined expanse, the hairs on the back of your neck begin to rise. And I think, Twigg, I think that you hear, probably in the back of your hearing, the mewling of a cat somewhere off in the distance. And there's something about the sound of that cat that it just sets your teeth on edge. And as you're moving, I think all of you kind of try to speed your way through the debris. And slowly but surely, you emerge from the expanse, looking out onto a series of neatly manicured homes, predominantly wooden homes with manicured lawns. Nothing too remarkable, because this is Lower Traverswood, and nothing really remarkable happens here. You guys successfully navigated through the expanse.
I think Gav tries to push her feathers back into some semblance of hair shape.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think
Just-
Kyrrie sort of looks down and she sees herself as sort of the only one in color in this, not only group of us, but while we were walking through the expanse, that sepia tone almost made it look like old film. And she recalls some of the first movies in Technicolor from her time. And she just, under her breath, makes a little comment. Guess we're following the yellow brick road.
I understood that reference.
So did I.
Oh goddamn! This cheers Maurice up. He'll take an action to refresh his pool, and he'll kind of look at everybody and say, "So, any ideas on how we find Edith?"
Oh, we had an address, yes?
You know from her author bio where she is predominantly located. I will say this, that there is actually a periodical that comes out regularly. I believe, I can just find it very quickly. I believe it is the Saturnine Sights and Sounds. You know that it's published in Lower Traverswood. And I think that that is something that you would have seen as a reference in the Basil Cotton books, Kyrrie, as well as anybody who spent time researching it.
Or eating it.
Or eating it, yeah. What do you guys do?
We could start with this periodical, or Maurice, you're good with people. You could just talk to them. I hear that's a thing that works sometimes.
Yeah. Let's start with the periodical. Where do we go, Kyrrie?
Well, the Sights and Sounds, I think, presumably is sold at a. Are we looking to acquire a copy?
Is the office or
I have
behind
no
us?
idea.
Directions aren't my strong suit, Maurice. You should know this.
Right. So Maurice starts thinking maybe this way, and just picks a direction and starts walking.
Is there somebody on the street? Because I'm about to do something really stupid.
Absolutely. I think there's
Oh,
probably somebody just like wandering around, and it's literally I think you see a older man with a long mustache that seems to be braided up into a top knot.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and he is just kind of like ambling, and he seems kind of like he's like a little bit in pain, like a little older and arthritic.
Excuse me, sir. My friends and I, not typically from the area, we're looking for the offices for the, what is the periodical? What is it? The
Saturday
Sounds and
Sights
Sights.
and Sounds.
Sights and Sounds.
Ah, Sights and Sounds. Oh, that's a good paper.
Yes. What, do you know where the offices are located?
I am. Well, I pick up my paper every week. I can tell you that much. But and then
Gav turns to Maurice just under her breath and goes, "You see why I don't talk to people?"
and Maurice mouths to you.
Don't make this worse.
And then I think that I think you're accosting this gentleman and
Accosting. It's the accent, right? It always sounds like I'm accosting somebody.
And I think that I hear you can pick up a local copy from the rack down the street.
Thank you. Yes, that is perfect.
And he
Have a great day. I'm just impressed that went well.
And he nods and he just starts walking back and then just starts muttering to himself.
Okay, bye.
Yeah.
I had a conversation with somebody today, and they didn't end with them slapping me or telling me to go fuck myself.
Gav, you did great. This might come across as sarcastic. I'm not being sarcastic. You did really good.
We can get the papers like right over there. They have like racks for them.
Setting the bar really low.
You have to start somewhere. Baby steps. One point of interaction. That's all I have.
I immediately set off towards wherever there it was indicated.
Yeah, so I think that you go to you find this small kind of rack, and literally it's almost like kind of like a comic book rack, except it appears to be growing out of the sidewalk like this long tube of concrete, with wire kind of basically wire kind of shoved into it. And for whatever reason, as you kind of push to move it by reflex, it actually, you see the concrete rotate and kind of twist. And in this case, you find a paper, not necessarily called the Sights and Sounds, it is called the Daily Sights.
Cool. I'll take that.
Yeah. So.
Do you eat it?
No.
You're gonna get asked that every time you pick up anything with words on it. Get used to it.
I know. Sometimes I get hungry, guys, okay?
Kyrrie looks at the paper and she sort of says, it's good to see one of these in the pulp, as it were. I hear etheric journalism is all the rage now, and brick and mortar is struggling a bit.
So Maurice is kind of taking in where this particular thing is. Is this like a newspaper stand or like a drop where like you could just get a free one kind of thing?
Yeah, it's a drop. You can essentially...
Okay, got it. So Maurice will pick up a copy as well. He'll kind of hold it in his hand, see is there a
as you begin
publishing place.
Yeah, and as you begin reading, you just kind of see there's a lot of very quotidian stuff documented in it. A lot of it, there's local news. There is also, basically there are advertisements for Barat's rentals, everything from simple garden tools to bicycles and automobiles. And there is a couple of kind of local color, so to speak, a lot of it talking about a recent reclamation of Area 38 of the ruined Expanse, which seems to go, it seems to be going fairly well, kind of reconstruction. You also notice that there is a ad, a kind of a classified ad looking for the location of the secret bar. And it's basically offering 5 mage coin to whoever will grant them the location of the secret bar.
Is that Zeros?
No, not apparently.
Oh. That's like the most interesting. Like, this place is suffocating me already.
And so not only that, but there is I would say, however, you do notice that there is an office that is attached and kind of listed in the newspaper proper. An address specifically.
Well, absent any other ideas, should we try and go to here?
We might as well, unless you want me to try to talk to another person.
Yeah, I mean that's up to you.
I really would not. That was sarcasm.
The other thing you know, however, though, is if you wanted to try to locate somebody magically, it would probably go better now that you are in Traverswood.
Maurice kind of mutters out loud, I don't really have a great way to find Edith directly, magically. Do any of you?
I don't think so.
I can touch a creature or an object and gain a bit of information about it, but since she's not here to actually touch, I can't help. Maybe if I touched the book, but I've already done that.
What about the newspaper?
Possibly, but I can't control what information I get. It's not like I can ask for the address of Edith Cranston.
Well, maybe if we go towards the office, we'll get lucky.
Yeah,
I think that's the best plan. It's a publishing house, isn't it?
Well, Zach, is the publisher of the book the same as the publisher of the newspaper, or are they different?
the publisher of the newspaper is distinct. The Daily Sites is actually, in fact,
I did mean the publisher for the newspaper.
Okay.
It seems like they might know the residents, or at least notable people.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is actually, I'll say that you know for a fact that the Daily Sites is kind of located in the heart of Lower Traverswood, kind of south of its center, as it's kind of been specified. The editorial offices have been specified in the newspaper.
I say we go.
Looks like
Let's
a
do
fair
it.
bet.
And I think it's this way.
All right. So
Twig's just like, it's not. But like,
How do you know?
because we know where it's at relative to us.
Oh,
Don't we?
which way is
Isn't
that?
it listed? Is it not listed, the address?
Well, yeah, I mean, do you know where that address is?
Yeah, you just pointed in the wrong direction for sure. So I don't know where anything actually is, but I know how to get to everywhere
Okay.
because maps.
Okay, yeah, no, absolutely. Follow everyone follow Twigg.
absolutely.
Twigg
Yeah.
has a built-in Google map.
Yeah, what was it? You've got like a little special bone, points magnetic north, all that. Yeah, so I believe you're kind of following Twigg at this point, and Twigg, you get a very keen sense of where this is in relation. You've absorbed the maps, so you kind of understand the wayfinding. You probably don't know enough about the local knowledge as to which roads are kind of blocked off. So I'd like you to make an intellect roll to find the best way there.
Cool. What's my adventure for that?
I'm going to say that this is going to be another, I'm going to say 5 for this one.
All right, I will pump that with a Bene.
Excellent.
That is a 7 + 1.
Excellent. So as you are kind of moving, you are able to kind of move at a clip, and you find kind of a very easy path. Some of the maps are a little bit inaccurate just because there seems to be road work. There are kind of sundry projects. Some of the maps are older, pre-war, so you don't necessarily kind of know for a fact that this is kind of like the safest route to go. But easily enough, you begin to move in the what you know and what you feel is the general direction. And actually, Gavriel, I want you to make a perception roll as you're moving.
My favorite words from any GM are just roll a perception check for me. Yeah, putting a bene into that one because now you've made me really nervous.
What harm could it do?
So, any chance that that venture was like 1 or something like that? I got a 2, buddy.
Interesting. Okay, so you keep moving.
Motherfucker.
Nope.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't like that.
You, I think you just kind of keep moving, and sure enough, you spot the editorial office, and you can tell it is the editorial office because it has plainly floating in front of it in a line of text outlined in blue fire, the daily sights. And as it begins to move, it also begins to take shape and show kind of important highlights from the newspaper. The fire kind of forms this almost kind of like German woodcut style engraving or kind of depiction of one of the photographs that you realize comes from the current edition, and below it is the headline that matches that photograph. So, you're watching this rotate, this kind of like surreal Actuality version of a news ticker, and you're outside of the editorial offices. What do you do?
Please don't make me talk to them again.
I think I'll take this. And and so I think Maurice is going to use a forte ability.
Ooh.
Called Learn from Tales, which says, I apply the lessons I've learned from stories to help me in real life. With this ability, I gain 3 bene and place them in any of my pools, each representing an idea I got from a story that can help me with an action. So this costs me 2. And I'm going to put 3 bene into my interaction pool and kind of put on my best Basil cotton because he's good at locating objects and creatures in the Actuality. So I'm going to do my best Basil cotton to find out where Edith Cranston is at this office.
Absolutely. So yeah, go ahead and I think that's exactly it. Is you swirl, like, what does this look like? How does this magic work?
So I think it's like if you were an actor preparing for a role and getting, actually the shoulders would be back, and the neck would be like so, and like kind of there's this physicality of embodying this other person to kind of take on their charisma and ability to suss out the truth. Maurice is taking on a role with a newfound confidence that he can get what he needs.
Yeah, and you guys watch as Maurice begins to kind of subtly shift. It's almost kind of like watching like Clark Kent go to Superman. It's really kind of a difference of kind of bearing as well as kind of posture. So first things first, you stand up straighter. Your shoulders kind of roll a little bit like further back. Your eyes begin to squint studiously, and you feel this kind of flash of detail around you as you begin to notice things about like the color of the office, the street, the state of repair of the road itself, as you begin being bombarded by all of this kind of additional sensory information, and suddenly your mind focuses keen like a knife. And You are now in front of the editorial offices, and you are now having cast the spell, and I am going to draw a card. Oh, this one's a good one. The Messiah. Defender of visions, swans, blades, and water. Meanings: change, salvation, familial love. Many fear change, others embrace it eagerly. Often, not always, but often, the former live happy and satisfying situations while the latter do not. In other words, change is a salvation that not everyone needs. The Messiah is the defender of the visions family. She defends by changing the things that threaten or menace. As a defender, the Messiah is particularly concerned with families and the bonds of love that exist there. Absolutely wonderful. Okay.
So Maurice will go to open the door, and he holds the door open so Duncan can walk in first.
Aw.
Oh, yeah. Obviously, let the dog go in ahead of us.
You move to open the door. You move to open the door, and the door flies open. A reporter with a stenographer's notebook in hand, the pen floating as she dictates to it, collides with you, barely, almost stepping on Duncan. And this woman immediately goes back and literally looks at you and says, "Oh, I am so sorry. I'm right in the middle of a deadline. I should have been looking where I'm going."
And Maurice has already been done picking up their things and says, "I beg your pardon. I'm terribly sorry." And he puts his arm forward and with a firmer handshake than normally, says, "Maurice Webb, pleasure to meet you."
And she shakes her hand like, "Aria North, reporter at large. How can I help you?"
I know you're busy. You said deadline for what?
Yeah, I'm a beat reporter here. I'm actually going out to cover a story in Fartown.
It wasn't aware anything happened in Lower Traverswood. That makes sense, Fartown.
Well, I would beg to differ on that. There's plenty that happens, but
and he gives like a conspiratorial wink, like that was a little joke.
Okay. I'm sorry, I don't know why I asked to help you.
You're going to regret it in about 5 seconds.
She seems absolutely kind of a little bit kind of, there's something about her looking at you. I'd like you to make an interaction roll.
All right, I'll pump a bene.
Mm-hmm.
Dice is 8 plus 1 is 9.
Excellent. You can tell for a minute, like for a fact, that she recognizes you, like, and she's trying to place your face.
This is not someone I helped at the Acclimation Center, is it?
No, it is not.
I'll say, well, I don't want to get in your way. We'll talk to somebody else at the paper. I'm sure they can help us.
Well, what is it you're trying to find? I'm pretty knowledgeable.
It's a little embarrassing, actually. I'm a huge fan of the Basil Cotton books. I'm a bit of an author myself, and I know Edith Cranston is in the area. Thought maybe, professional to professional.
She looks at you. There's this look of kind of a eureka moment on her face. That's, wow. Oh, you're cosplaying.
Embarrassingly, yes, that's true. We're all cosplaying. And I look at Kyrrie and go could have done a little bit more, but still, she put in some effort.
I am a librarian, so guilty as charged. I love those books. She's very convincing.
I think Gav leans over to Twigg and is just like, "What is cosplay?"
I don't know. I think it's got to be performance art, maybe? I don't know.
And yeah, she's just, "Oh, you look so much like just, I don't know what it is. Just the set of your face. You look so much like the detective. What was it? I just did a spotlight on her.
Oh, you flatter me. So Edith, it would be amazing if you could pass on some information to us. We'll take care of the rest. I don't mean to impose.
I would love for you to make another interaction roll, because this time you are asking her for something.
All right, burning
now we're
the
just
thing.
a bunch of stalker fans. Can you just give us the author's address?
Yeah,
Nothing bad will happen.
No.
So
I was going to say a GDPR violation.
This is the sequel to Misery.
Yeah, this is gonna be this is gonna be challenge rating 10. This is gonna be a hard roll.
I got 4, so
and I think that she's a little bit. She's like, I appreciate your enthusiasm. Look, there's a local bookstore. I know that she'll be around. I do not feel at all comfortable.
Oh, that's more than enough. And maybe you could give me a copy of the profile you did. That would be huge to a fan like me.
Sure. Okay. And she flips one of the pages of her stenographer's notebook, and she starts scribbling with the pen and taps it twice, and then rips the sheet off, and it's a newspaper clipping from the daily sites, basically kind of having done this spell to recreate her work. And she hands it to you, and she says, I don't know why I felt the need to do that.
I mean, professional to professional, am I right? I'll haunt the bookstore. I need to make some purchases anyway, and good luck on your story. I hope nothing dangerous in Fartown.
Oh, well, I mean, Fartown as it stands is pretty dangerous, but nothing too urgent. Let's put it that way.
I think before she heads out, Kyrrie kind of wants to catch her eye and go, Ms. North, do you have a business card? The library on the Vancine campus has a few issues to discuss with respect to your archiving policy of past periodicals.
Oh, certainly. And she reaches down into her pocket and she produces a card and hands it to you. And this one, just very plain business card on the front, but as you turn it over to the back, again, that kind of like news ticker behavior is apparent in the back. It seems to be rotating the image on the back face of the card.
Kyrrie takes it from her and goes, thank you so much. I'll send one of my second assistants to be in touch about that.
Sure. Okay. Pleasure meeting you all. And
Twigg has just been staring in consternation at Maurice. What?
Yeah.
What is going on?
I think the two apostates are both like in the corner, just like, I don't trust like that.
Yeah.
And so as Kyrrie finishes, Maurice just flashes a beaming smile and says, you can take a librarian out of a library. Am I right? Have a good day.
Yeah, I think, it just, everything that kind of happened, it seems to be kind of manifesting out of this new charisma and kind of forthright, observant attitude that Maurice is exhibiting. It's a very uncanny to watch. And she, kind of almost trying to remember herself, she just leaves and calls and hails a cab down the street.
What kind of cab?
Is it a snacksy?
It is
a snap.
Snacksy?
It is not a snacksy.
No.
At this, however, at this point, you see a. No, this one I'm gonna save this one because I like that one a lot. It's a yellow cab. It's a checkered yellow cab, which directly from New York City, circa 1940.
You see Maurice kind of slouches back to his normal posture, and he is reading this Edith Cranston profile, not really paying attention to anything else.
Okay.
I think Kyrrie kind of squints her eyes at the cab, though, because she, probably back in the gray, has been to New York once or twice. And that would be familiar to her from within her time period.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that, I think that exactly, you kind of like have that moment of, huh, and you watch as the checkered cab departs, the driver being something, it probably an Elderbryn. Its head is the shape of a bird. You can't really tell much other than that. But you watch as it departs, and Maurice, you are reading the profile. And are you looking for any information in particular?
I'm looking for any clues to Edith's demeanor. How the interview went. Was she freely answering questions? Was she being a bit cagey? Was there something that she completely dodged? What are some likes, dislikes, hobbies, kind of thing?
I think that literally it's the Sight and Sound is talking, or not the Sight and Sound, the Daily Sight is talking about, actually the profile that you realize is kind of like almost like the New York Times book review. It's the Sight and Sound, which is kind of what her novels referred to, was the idea of kind of like having this like local Lower Taverswood beat. And so essentially you're reading through the profile, and it's really fascinating. She just seems to be this elderly Visley who basically, has been beloved by the community. Typically will do readings of her latest work not too far from her home, in which there is a very interesting bookstore called the Loquacious Logorat. And essentially,
That's going into my notes.
yeah, the Loquacious Logorat, Loggiarat. So it's actually Logerat. And you are kind of reading this profile, and she seems very self-effacing, very warm and congenial. Talks with a great deal of passion about her work in adventure fiction. She does not seem to be cagey, because it's almost like this is a hometown crowd, right? So basically, I think that you get the idea that this person is almost like an elder woman in the community. And I think that the only time when things get a little bit weird in the interview is when the interviewer talks about her work reading to the veterans of the war, at which point things take on a considerably more somber tone. But otherwise, she just seems, in the profile, just a very approachable elder author.
Maurice turns to the rest of you and says, I don't think there's any more information for us here. I think our best bet is to go to this bookstore and see if we can't stumble upon Edith.
Sounds like a plan.
I mean, I'm always up to go to a bookstore.
I'm feeling a little bit peckish.
Seeing the need in your eye, Maurice will hand over the newspaper clipping.
Just, yeah, I'm actually gonna save that later for a snack. That's more of a tide you over, but I'll tuck it into one of the many pockets.
All right. Any idea where the Loquacious Logorat is, Twigg?
No, I know how to get places. I don't know where things are.
Do I have an address in the profile?
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
It's
GPS Twigg.
It's something like along the lines of what was it? Mrs. Cranston occasionally reads at the Loquacious Logerat, which you can find on 273 Baxter Street in Lower Taverswood. So,
And how far would Baxter Street, 273 Baxter Street be?
it's not far. It's about a little bit less than a quarter mile. You just kind of have to take a circuitous route north.
Cool. I'm going to turn off tolls and ferries, and then. Sorry. That was terrible.
And as you are moving north, Gav, again, that there's this feeling like you're missing something.
Oh, I can't do another roll. This is permanent.
I'd like you to make another perception roll.
All right, I'm gonna pound another bene into that.
It just slams the
I'm
bene.
really nervous.
Is it possible for me to assist this, or would I have to be aware of the attempt to sortilege it?
If you're going to be proud of my accomplishments, Maurice, you have to also be with me in my failures.
Yeah, I think at this point, yeah, I'd say it depends on. Yeah, let's see how you roll first.
Redeeming, that'll be a 10 with the bene put into that 9.
All right, excellent.
Thank you very much.
I think there is a kind of a moment of chagrin when you realize that this practiced sensation that you have strikes you, which is that you have the very distinct feeling that you are being followed.
I hold up a hand. Who would be right, like, next to me? How are we walking? Imagine we're not really walking in order.
I'm probably dawdling along in the front.
Dawdling in the front, okay.
I'm imagining a marching order that's like Twigg, Gav, Maurice, Kyrrie. Seems about right.
That's good for me.
Where does Duncan fall into that?
Right next to me, so.
I'm actually gonna turn a card real quick.
Oh, no.
Wait, you didn't like all those bonuses I was getting to everything I did? Right.
Oh, this is great. This is Vizier, which is a nemesis, which means everybody. Okay.
Except for the apostates, y'all.
The Vizier is the nemesis of notions, cats, clocks, and wind.
That's me. All of it.
So because you are an apostate, you can choose to ignore the testament.
I want to hear the rest of this shenaniganry first.
Meanings, manipulation, sycophant, power, and influence. Lurking in the shadows, the Vizier controls from a distance. They do not sit upon a throne, but instead are the power behind that throne. They don't make laws, they circumvent them, but they do it to further the ends of the ruler, the land, or perhaps themselves. The Vizier has secret agendas within agendas. Their smooth words manipulate everyone, even the ruler they supposedly serve. Thus, they have much of the real power and influence. Are they acting in the best interests of the ruler or themselves? How can we ever be certain? The Vizier is the nemesis of notions. They cannot be trusted. The right words in the right ear can be more potent than any spell.
Oh my god.
Divination. Someone is manipulating things behind the scenes, and that's almost certainly bad for the person in question. One must look for where the real power is, because this card turn suggests that it isn't where one thinks it is. The Vizier can also mean that there is a way for one to manipulate the people involved in one's goals, though through careful words, clever words, coercion, or extortion. Okay. Someone is exerting secretive influence upon someone else, which I think, yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'm going to be like an apostate and be like, no, thank you. And then I'm going to just be like, someone's following us.
Probably best to act natural. I don't play our hand. Everyone just keep moving forward calmly, yes?
Should we keep to the same street?
Twigg, give us a detour.
Yeah, is there a short, hard alley or something?
Yeah, I'd say
I'm going to double back behind. And I kind of like adjust the rifle that's always strapped to my back.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe if there's an alley with an entrance, like kind of in something where Gav could potentially run in front of us and come back around
Mhm.
to see whoever's following.
Okay, I would like two things to happen. I need you, Gavriel, to make a movement roll. You're basically moving stealthily. And your challenge rating is going to be 7.
All right.
And Twigg, I'd like you to make an intellect roll.
I will bene that up.
Okay. As you kind of try to find the best route forward.
What's the adventure on that?
I'm going to say it's going to be 7.
I was hoping you were going to say 1, because I too rolled a 2, or a 1 with a plus 1.
Guess what? I rolled a 1.
All right. Yeah, I think that in the panic that kind of sets in, there's kind of this feeling like you just don't, like, you're trying to reference like the map that you're thinking of with the street that you're actually seeing. And I think, Gavriel, I think that you just start looking to double back, and then you just kind of walk into something or walk into some bit of debris and knock something over. And it makes a loud, resounding sound down the street. I think that this is kind of like, just, this is not your favorite hunting ground, so to speak, you know? And the sound echoes through a quiet neighborhood. And you are secure in the knowledge that you are being followed and you are not alone. And it's there. We're going to take our break.
God damn it.
Secure is a very strong term for that.
I'm about to unleash.
Yeah, so everybody, we're going to go to break for about 5 minutes. We'll be back at 6:15 to start. And we're looking forward to seeing how this shakes out.
Oh boy.
Hello, and welcome back. So, a few minutes ago, we realized that our favorite Vizsla were being followed by something or someone through the quiet neighborhood of Lower Traverswood as they are looking for Edith Cranston, the author of Basil Fictorum, who is the current subject of their inquisition, as it were, for Mara, the blue sun, the warden of the blue sun. So, in light of the current situation you find yourselves, I think some new music is appropriate.
No, everything's fine though.
All right.
It's all good.
So,
This is fine. Everything's fine.
So,
Hopefully.
as you are kind of reeling from the noise that you just made, and kind of the Twigg, you have backed yourself into a kind of a corner where you don't really know which way or any exits there might be. So
I did the Google Map thing where it's like, turn left into that lake.
so
There's no road here.
So the first shot takes you completely by surprise.
Shot now?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So,
Pardon?
First thing I want you to do is I'd like you to make a dodge roll. The difficulty is going to be 7. Remember
I'm going
that
to put a venture into that, and I also have a skill. Wait, can I put a bene into that?
absolutely.
Okay, would that be movement?
Yeah, that's movement.
All right, so I put a movement, and then I have a dodge. So that's, I just barely make it. That's 5 plus the bene and the dodge.
Yeah.
So
I think you're standing next to a trash can, and you watch as a bullet perforates it and right next to you, and you the sound goes off. You instinctually reach for your ears, and that's when you hear the voice behind you say, "Now don't move. I'm gonna need you to come nice and quietly. If all of you would be so kind as to let me take your friend, no further bloodshed is required." And you see, standing behind all of you, a man holding in one hand a smoking pipe that's curved and long, and in the other a hand cannon. And there's air swirling around them, and you think you see forms in it. At which point, now,
Up comes the rifle.
all right. At which point, he's gonna fire one at you. And I need you to make a dodge roll. Difficulty 7.
All right. Is there any bene you can put into that? What would it be?
Movement.
Movement. Okay, yeah, I definitely will.
Okay.
8.
All right. Yeah, you just jump straight out, and I think you do manage to hold on to the rifle as he fires, and then he kind of holsters the gun, lights the pipe, and says, "I'm telling you, you don't have to die."
That's funny, I was going to say the same thing.
And you see he's got this very long mustache, and he's got a bowler hat, a duster that looks brown and leathered, and at the same time those forms begin to swirl again, and he says, "This is really how you all want to play it?"
I don't know who you are or what you want with our friend.
You're the one who started shooting.
Does this creature bear any resemblance at all to the depictions of Basil Fictorum that we would have read about?
Not at all. This person is completely different. This he just is like this, kind of middle-aged man with white hair and that kind of like long mustache and the duster. He's wearing what look to be kind of like almost like driving gloves, leathers in hand, and when he holstered the hand cannon, he just doesn't seem like he's at all threatened. He, in fact, actually, Gav, if you want to make an intellect roll, I can tell you more.
I'll try.
Again, that target level is going to be 7.
Not even close. 5.
Yeah, I'm going to say on a mixed success, you've heard something about this guy. Like, you've heard something about, there are bounty hunters that have a notable kind of reputation. And you've heard one about a gunslinger in particular that's very successful.
I'd like to cast Scent of Magic.
Absolutely.
So again, that's it's like, for a moment I gained the ability to sense magic by its unmistakable and unique odor. Mm-hmm. And if I spend an action to examine a specific effect, I can identify it.
Absolutely.
I am very curious as to what this dude's deal is. Also, especially those swirling figures.
Yeah, this is battle magic. This is essentially, this is whatever it is, it's enhancing his abilities. This is probably the color of the red. Basically change, destruction. And it's swirling around him in this kind of ethereal mist, these forms. And at which point he sees you do that as you sniff, and he sees you kind of cast the spell, and he says, "This is your last chance. You can come quietly, or you and your friends are coming down the hard way."
So,
answer some questions first. Who are you? Who sent you? Who's paying for this bounty?
Someone wealthy enough to ask for discretion. My name's Luster. It's going to be the last name you hear.
I don't think so. No, go ahead.
Fuck this guy. So Twigg, I'm then, all right, so this guy's a douche, and B, a threat. So like, in that order. So I'm gonna cast Barrage. So you just see Twigg just gonna go, fuck you, bro, and just raise up and kind of and finger gun. Like snap their finger gun, and just and a whole bunch of debris from the ground, like small little rocks, bits of trash, just fly at a super high velocity at this dude.
Okay. I want you to go ahead and make your attack roll.
All right.
I can tell you what you are. Yeah. So again, that target is, this one is an 8.
All right, so I get, it's level 2 plus 1 die, and I am going to spend a sorcery point to beef it, or is that sortilege?
Sortilege. No, it's going to be a sorcery point to beef it. Yeah.
Sorcery point to beef it. Yeah, let's do that. Oh, yeah, that doesn't work. That's a 5 on the regular dice and a 1 on the magic dice.
Okay. Well, it's not flux, which is good. And I think what happens is he kind of very quickly ducks to one side as you fire off the barrage, at which point he says, "That's cute." And those forms that are swirling around him, out of it, 4 guns emerge, being held by 4 spectral hands. And he says, he looks at all of you, and he takes the pipe in his hand, and he points, and each one fires a shot. I need everybody to make... Yeah.
Zach, I have a question.
Uh-huh.
How does counterspell work? Is this a spell?
Yeah.
It is definitely
Actually,
a spell.
Same question, because I have I have Spellbreaker.
Okay. So let me see.
Bastards.
Let me go ahead and take a look at the effects table, because this is a 4-part attack. So I'm gonna say that this is 4 shots, 4 magical firing. This one, you are going to be inflicted 4 damage, so each one is a level 4 spell.
It's level 4. Okay, so I cannot. My passive defense doesn't automatically do it.
Same.
Okay. So
while we're at it, Zach, do you want to refresh us on how combat works in terms of initiative, that kind of thing?
So I think what ended up happening is that you guys were caught unawares. So essentially he got, the first shot on Twigg. You guys have, Gavriel and Twigg, you took your action. I think Gavriel, you spent your time talking to him. Actually, that's a good point. Before this, I think that this is kind of like slowed down. The guns are firing, or he's kind of pointed at you, and the guns are about to fire, and you can see that the fingers are pulling the triggers. Maurice and Kyrrie, what are your actions?
Maurice puts his hands up and creates distance between himself and his companions, and takes maybe 1 or 2 steps towards this bounty hunter.
Okay.
And I think Kyrrie is going to... Do we have a sense of like the range? What is the distance between him and us?
I'd say you guys have gone down this one side street, like slash alley. I'm gonna say this is about 30 feet between you and him.
Okay. All right. Kyrrie is going to cast a spell that she has prepared. It is a level 5 spell, and it's called In the Grip of the Darkening Beast. A creature within short range suffers 1 anguish and is struck blind until that damage is recovered.
Okay. What is the level of your spell?
5.
Okay. I would like you to roll your attack with, I think at this point, yeah, absolutely. You add 5 to your venture, so you just need to get a 2 or above.
Okay.
And I'm turning a card for Twigg's original roll, or barrage. This is the Revealing Knife. The Revealing Knife cuts everything. It slices through buildings or mountains as easily as paper or flesh. Anything that obfuscates what lies beyond or within is cut with precise strokes. We all long for such a tool to cut away the confusion and the lies, but we fear it as well. For what would such a knife slice away from us? What would it expose? The philosopher Timon Grain said, "We always assume what lies beneath, buried deep, is what is real. But what if the truth is actually the outermost layer? What if the grandest secret in the world is that there are no secrets and everything is what it appears to be?" Most believe the revealing knife to be the counterpoint to Grain's idea. The blade carves away all that obscures, leaving truth exposed for all to see. This is it. Yeah, absolutely. Roll your spell.
Is this for Barrage or Scent of Magic?
That was for Barrage. So,
Awesome.
yeah, absolutely. Okay. Kyrrie, go ahead and roll.
All right. With that Philosopher's Knife introduction, it's a 3 on the dice.
Okay. What is the color of your spell?
The color of my spell is red.
Okay. It's not, yeah, so it pulls off. It goes off, and I think what happens as a consequence is you've blinded him, and now he's firing wildly. How much damage did you do?
Let's see. I don't think it's 1 anguish. That's
Okay.
all the damage is.
Yeah, I think that he drops the pipe and grips his face, and the 4 guns still fire, but I think at this point you've given yourself 2 to your venture to dodge. So
Okay.
everybody can make dodge rolls now, and add 2 to the venture. The difficulty again is 7.
Okay.
I'm gonna Bene that.
Got 8 on the dice.
Awesome. All right.
That's a physical Bene to boost it.
Yeah.
Also, so that was a 9, and then 2, and then 3, so a 12.
Okay.
Wow.
Woo.
All right. Actually,
Way to overkill.
yeah, so I actually kind of lied about this. His actual ability to fire with weapons is actually 10.
Oh.
So, but I'm gonna ignore that for this round. Yeah.
That's a 4.
Yeah. Okay. So 4 plus 6. Did you pump a Bene?
Was the dodge, right?
Yeah. With the what was that? Yeah. With it's with dodge plus.
Oh, this was the dodge. That was technically a 13.
Yeah. Exactly. Did you pump a Bene into your
No, I did not.
move roll? Okay. You are going to take 4 points of damage. You can spend a physicality to ignore 3 points for 3 injuries.
So when you say spend a physicality, what does that mean?
Physicality
A Bene?
Bene? Yeah.
Just anyone?
Any physicality Bene.
There's
Then
a
yes.
specific pool that's called physicality though.
Yeah.
Under Certes.
Oh, I do have that. Yes, I'm gonna spend 1.
Okay. So you take 1 injury, and that's going to go to the 3 points to your first wound.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's firing wildly.
So
yeah.
my dodge roll was 2. I spent a Bene that pumps it up to 3. I take this damage as well.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I can burn a physical Bene to reduce it to 1 injury or 1 wound.
1 injury.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
All right.
Excellent. I think what is going to happen then, we're going to turn another card for that last spell, because that was a good one. All right. Let's see what we got. Elusive sleep, futility, worry, stress, awareness. The richest noble cannot buy sleep. The strongest among us cannot compel its submission. Even the wisest person might lose a night's rest to anxiety. Still, when we're awake, we are aware, and that awareness can be crucial. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. This one is... Oh, wait. All right. Okay. All right. Yes, absolutely. You notice something vital. Maurice, I think that because of your previous spell, you have cast to resemble Basil Fictorum, or to kind of like pull the qualities together. You remember that man with the Topknot, the Topknot mustache?
Yeah.
He is some distance behind this figure, and he's watching the scene play out, and he's beginning to run. What do you I think that you do notice this, and it just strikes you something's very familiar about it.
In what way?
there's something that, like, actually make an intellect. You know what? Make an intellect roll.
What's my target?
I'm gonna say for this one 8.
Okay, I'm looking for a 7 or higher.
Mm-hmm.
8 on the dot, so 9 total.
Yeah. So one of the stories that you've heard, that you remember, one of the qualities of Basil is that he tends to disguise himself very effectively as other people, and tends to move in plain sight. And he's moving quickly. You don't necessarily know his intention, but you understand that this is an MO.
So, I'm going to. Do I have the ability to take a quick action rest and then do something, or not?
I'm gonna say choose one or the other.
Okay, because I am 1 sorcery point off of being able to actually address this. Here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to give an instruction to Duncan and then take an action myself. May I do that?
Absolutely.
So the gunslinger has dropped the pipe.
Mm-hmm.
Duncan is going to grab that pipe.
Absolutely.
And he is blinded and kind of flapping wildly. I'm going to attempt to run past the bounty hunter and go to the edge of the alleyway and find this the guy that's beginning to run and yell, wait, help!
He's not running away, he's running to you.
He's running. Oh, so I thought he was like gonna grab like the cops or something. Okay. Duncan's getting the pipe, and I'm going to close. Do I have the ability to close the distance and do something?
Absolutely.
Deck of Sooth cards from the pocket. 52 card pickup in his face.
You're throwing it at the bounty hunter or at Basil?
At the Basil.
Oh yeah. Throw me.
I mean, I think we had sussed it out.
All of you did. This is news to me.
Yeah. Give me another roll. Give me.
I don't have to. This is the ephemera.
Yeah, that's right. You do that. Absolutely.
Leaps forward and forms a humanoid shape that attempts to grab and strangle a close target, if successful.
Mm-hmm.
So the level is 5 plus a die.
All right. You're looking for, I believe, a 10.
Woof.
Mm-hmm.
That is I'm adding the 5 plus my roll.
Yep.
So I got a 13, and then on the second die I got a 0 plus 5.
Is that the magical die?
I think so.
Okay. So, on the plus side, so we're gonna get a flux, and we're gonna turn another card for that one. Yeah. Oh, this music's giving me anxiety, guys. Yeah.
You chose it.
I know.
So for the record, the way I thought this is that this bounty hunter was a projection of the other dude who was standing behind. So this is like a doppelganger kind of thing. But you all glommed that was friggin' Basil. Okay.
So this is some classic Sherlock Holmes shit.
At which point, the Empty Gallows is the card that you pulled. Rescue, salvation, solution, favorable judgment, and escape.
Okay. All right.
The Gallow claims no victory today. Today we are granted a reprieve, or we can make an escape, or someone rescues us. Whatever the reason, the threat is gone, the problem is solved. The Empty Gallows brings a feeling of relief, of gratitude, and newfound purpose. It is a sudden extension of life. The Empty Gallows serves as the location card for the Notions family. Okay. Some problem, perhaps a major problem, will be solved. This might be from an external source, or one might bring upon their own salvation. Okay. I think that, this is perfect. As the Sooth deck brings forward and grabs him and begins to strangle, you notice that this magic kind of flares up around his neck, and you see it seems the attack does less damage than you would think. At which point, he tries to push past this Soothcard golem and say, "No, get out of the way. I'm trying to help you." What do you do? Actually, no, that's your action. Luster is going to attack again. All right, first off.
How is this working in a round?
Sorry,
Wait,
this was
I
at
didn't
Luster.
do anything yet.
I did my cards at Luster.
Yeah, we actually did. You did throw the cards at Luster.
Yeah.
You threw the cards at Luster, or you threw the cards at Basil?
Who's shooting? I threw the cards at Shooty Man.
Shooty man.
Luster. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you see the deck just strangle Luster, and at which point I think that the other 4 arms bring their hands down around the Sooth deck and are struggling. Yeah. So we're gonna go back to the top of the order. In this case, I believe Gavriel, you were the first one to act. So good catch on that. You're up.
Heyo. Well, now that this gentleman has decided to shoot first, which I really don't appreciate, I'm a shoot and do it better.
Okay.
And I'm gonna add a sorcery point into my shot
Okay.
because we get to do some fun stuff with that I haven't done in a hot second.
Yeah.
So
I think that this one is a sortilege. I think if you want to add a second die to make it magical.
then I will do sortilege.
Okay. You are going to have -1 to your venture because you're going to try to shoot through the golem. I feel like that's fair because it's kind of obscuring.
Nope, that's
giving you
totally
cover.
fine.
Yeah.
What's my venture?
You are trying to hit a 7.
Cool. And my marksman ability is applied to this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing. And I'm gonna pump in an accuracy just for fun.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll be a 10.
All right. Yeah, I think. Are you pumping in? So that's 10 to your the accuracy to your venture or to your damage?
Was I rolling to strike?
Yeah, you were roll. I was gonna say you can roll to strike or you can choose to. Well, I think for all intents and purposes, this is to hit. So
Yes.
What
so this was to hit.
Yeah. What damage?
And the
do you do?
damage is. Oh boy. So I added the sortilege, so it's a telepstic strike because I enhanced it with magical energies.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 2 on top of my rifle, which is already 4, and that is 6.
Okay. So he takes that shot, and again you see a field kind of pop up around him. Like there seems to be something about the duster jacket that he's wearing, but you see like some of that dissipate as the shot strikes true, and it does not block all of the damage. So, and I think it's a very keen hit. It kind of like blindsides him. And I think what is going to happen, because I believe it's Luster's turn now. Luster, just struggling with the blindness and with being
I thought it was my turn.
Let me see. You were caught unawares. You did barrage. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Cause fuck Luster.
Mm-hmm.
A Twigg is gonna run forward and pull something that they kind of forgot they had. And so I'm gonna pull out a it's kind of like one of those massive old school keys that's like used to open like that was used to open like safes and stuff.
Nice.
So it's kind of like really heavy handle, but it's like sharp on all the edges. And I'm gonna shank him with a wicked key.
All right.
Whoa.
As you grip the wicked key and you stride forward, like I think that what ends up happening is you see he's blinded, he's struggling, he seems to be reaching for something behind him, and one of the hands is about to give him, and then you stab the key. Where do you stab him with it?
Right in the throat.
Okay. As you bring the key to him, a keyhole opens in his neck. and you watch as the wicked key slots in and turns. And just like that, he stops mechanically almost. And turns and begins to walk the opposite direction down the alley.
So I'm going to do one more thing.
Okay. What do you do?
I'm going to use the last, or
What's that?
Just muted yourself, boyo.
I'm not sure if it's not my last 5. It's 4 sorcery points.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to quickly just like brush my hand along his back as he turns and walks away and steal the last 5 minutes of memory from him.
All right. I would like you. Yeah. You were about to say?
mute yourself again?
When I swap, the space bar doesn't work. That's my forte ability, consume memory.
All right. Okay, so I would like you to roll
So dope.
Yeah, roll and give me at least, this is added to your venture. I'm going to give you +1 also because he's kind of has his back turned to you. I'd like you to, this is kind of like just to make sure that you don't botch it. Roll a 2 or higher, and that happens.
All right. With forte abilities, can I add Bene?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so I'll add my last sorcery.
So all you need to do is not roll a 0.
That'll be a 6.
Okay. So you brush, and he loses the last 5 minutes of memory.
Yeah.
And he just continues to robotically walk down the street.
Interestingly enough, I have his memory.
Uh-huh.
Like, that's mine now.
Yeah.
But like in my head, it's not like memory spew. It's like just up here.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, yeah, you actually, oh man. Okay, I'm gonna make a hard move here. I'm sorry. This is too good. You are going to take 1 point of despair as you feel that anguish that was hit him. It hits you.
Sorry.
So I'm gonna say that you take 1 anguish for stealing that memory, but you do know for the last 5 minutes he's been following you and been basically kind of clocking you around the neighborhood, and he seems to be looking at a flyer, and with that he has also got a bullet in one hand in this memory, and the bullet seems to be moving around his hand, his palm, like a compass, and he's holding the flyer that says, "Have you seen our dear Twigg?" Basically that APB from before.
Oof, that's unfortunate. All right. So what's he's still just walking away?
Yeah, he's walking away. You do not know how long that you have. And I think that at this point Basil is watching him leave, and he's got a pistol drawn out that is not too dissimilar from the hand cannon. It's basically like a snub-nosed revolver, and there seems to be like a little bit of glint around the chamber of the barrel, or kind of like the bullet chamber. And so he's taking a look and he's watching this happen. He says, "We should move as quickly as possible."
I'm curious, the text of the Sooth column does 5 damage the first round, 3 damage the second round, 1 damage the third. So I don't think it would stop.
Whoops.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, exactly. I think that he probably I think that he, oh man, in that case we have to retcon. I think he slumps unconscious.
I can still steal his memory, though.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think you wouldn't have even had to roll.
Then we can rob him blind.
Absolutely.
That's even better.
So the mustache person who I'm gonna keep Bill's confusion for Maurice. Maurice does not know who this is. Says looks. It says like, so you gonna shoot that at us too? Like, bring it on.
Yeah, I think Gav like goes from like aiming the rifle there, and she just goes whoop.
And
who are you?
And because of the memory swipe, we're also going to turn another card.
Oh, what was the anguish in?
Anguish is your mental wound.
Yeah, so there's physical wounds and mental wounds, which are called anguish.
Yeah.
This is great. The Raven, the companion of Secrets, Ravens, Books, and Flame. Meanings: jealousy, sight, and trickery.
Who's got secret ravens and books? Yeah.
Companion to the Secrets family, the Raven sees everything and tells nothing. The Raven is smarter and wiser than it ever lets on. The intelligence, however, manifests in its crafty solutions to problems. Some might use the word cheating. In fact, cheating. In fact, the Raven's weakness is greed and jealousy. It wants what you have, and that probably means your secrets. Can you keep them from its watchful eye? Is it even worth it? So it has both positive and negative connotations. It indicates that someone is watching, jealous, usually someone unexpected. It's also a warning to beware of greed and trickery. Oh, that's great. Okay.
I thought it was just letting us know that I'm about to rob this unconscious man I just stole memories from.
Absolutely.
Because that's what I'm about to do.
All right. So I think that what you do when you kind of reach down to thieve is you do find a hand cannon on his hip. And not only that, there's a small pouch for crystal orbs that has 10 glass orbs and 20 crystal orbs. And I think other than that, he's basically just wearing that and what he's got on.
Oh yeah, it's the duster I'm excited about. I'm gonna take that duster.
If you're not excited about the gun, you could.
Oh no! I'm keeping it. Let's be honest here. I'm going to rob this man and steal his identity, pretty much. But wait, just one
There's
second.
more.
But wait, there's more.
So
You have an actual duster?
No way.
Maurice recovers the Sooth deck that has now collapsed.
Y'all have no idea how excited I am right now.
Oh my god!
Yeah, it's bowler time, baby. The only reason this is not staying on is because headphones.
How dare you, sir?
I can make this work. Fuck you guys.
I love it. No, I love it. It's great. I love it. I just make fun of anything y'all do. It's great.
A little fourth wall never hurt anyone.
So Maurice picks up the deck and then goes over to Duncan and picks up the pipe that this guy dropped.
It is a very fancy, elaborate pipe. It seems to have been crafted into the shape of a bearded, kind of almost like a Santa-like face. It's like kind of like just this kind of bearded figure, maybe like a North Wind type deal, and its beard spirals into the pit of the pipe. So while you guys are doing this, I think that it's at that point that this figure lets down its top knot and pulls off this elaborately long mustache and runs a hand over the front of its face. And oddly enough, it is a man who resembles, imagine kind of a current age Idris Elba if he were had a more grown out afro and was less muscular, and he was wearing a bowler hat and a khaki suit to match.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And he holsters the snub-nosed revolver, and he says, "You're not the most subtle bunch, are you?"
No one's ever accused me of that.
Twigg is literally just sitting there trying on an unconscious man's clothing.
So, who are you?
I am Basil Fictorum. I presume you already knew that, however. From your bearing, I can tell that you are something of a veteran.
Oh, you are Basil.
Kyrrie's going to step up to him and go, that was impressive bit of illusion magic.
Well,
But aren't you supposed to be proficient with a pistol? Why do you have a revolver?
now, same way, different way of saying the same thing, isn't it?
It is an inconsistency.
Well, in the lands of fiction, what makes for a better story is not often the same as what is representative of fact.
Are you saying that you're not true to your text, Basil Victorum?
I propose we have any philosophical conversations, and I holster the rifle off the street.
I have just the place. And he says, and I'll have you know, I am my own person. Thank you very much. And he kind of says it almost scoldingly to Kyrrie. He says, this way. And he begins to walk southeast.
Kyrrie doesn't like this. She doesn't like someone telling her what to do.
I think I'm going to like him.
Maurice is shell-shocked. Tucks the pipe away in his, takes his own pipe out and lights it concernedly and begins to follow and is just puffing.
I think Gav goes up to Twigg and kind of nudges them and is just like, split half the money.
Oh, yeah. I will give you, I'll just give it to you and let you divide it. I'm over here playing with I'm literally sitting here like playing with my shiny new hand cannon.
I will divide it evenly.
Yeah, actually.
What was that? 10 and 10 glass and crystal?
Yeah, absolutely.
So 5 and 5.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good. I was completely broke.
Actually, it was 20 crystal orbs. It was 10.
Oh,
yeah, that's right. It was 20 crystal orbs and it was 10 glass orbs.
Awesome. So 5 glass orbs each and 10 crystal orbs each.
Mm-hmm.
I did math.
All right. As you are kind of walking, he's walking at speed. He's barely kind of looking for you guys to kind of follow behind him. He's just kind of assuming that you're doing that. And he is, again, moving at a clip. And he says, this way, shouldn't be too far now.
That sounds motive?
Absolutely.
This dude has a vested interest in us not doing what we're trying to do, apparently. That's a 4 + 2, 6.
He is a little hard to read. He seems very pointed and direct and one thing I will say that you get with this kind of mixed success is you are seeing him clock all of the area around him, just like it's like watching a hummingbird in motion. You kind of see him taking in details, and you can actually see him physically absorbing the knowledge of his current circumstances and of your location. He seems hyper vigilant. And that's all. I think that with that roll, that's what you gather.
That's completely fair.
Mm-hmm. So he has moved and he picks a spot of brick wall. It's about, I'd say you guys are traveling about a quarter of a mile, at which point he picks a spot of brick wall, and he begins a kind of elaborate knock and goes across a certain number of bricks, and the wall opens. And at which point a sign appears composed of 4 or 5 bricks above the it kind of composed of these bricks. It kind of turns into this white sign that just literally reads, enter here. It says, after you.
Maurice walks in with Duck.
Okay.
I exchange a look, and this day can't get any weirder, so off I go.
All right. Anybody else doing anything different?
Twig said something, but was muted.
Me be muted? Never. I guess if we're trusting him, we're trusting him.
Kyrrie's gonna wait for him to go in before she does.
Okay. At which...
Sorry. Did you say that out loud, Twig?
No.
Okay, never mind.
Because I don't trust him.
And
I'm more like criticizing our life choices while simultaneously doing that.
And I think that you guys all file in, and he looks back to Kyrrie, and he looks at you, and he says, "Reservation?"
Just wanting to see how you'd react. It's a tactic of yours, as I recall.
Yes, so you are pretty observant, I take it. You're one of the more studious members of this outfit, I should imagine.
First assistant librarian of the Order of the Vans.
Ah, yes, and you haven't even made Velator, and you are already making fine work.
I'm sorry, I don't believe Velator is a word within your universe, is it?
It's very much my universe, this one. And I can tell from the bearing that you've gotten recent news of your exam.
Intriguing. You'll have to tell me more about how you can tell that. But after you.
And he tips his bowler hat to you, and he walks in.
Kyrrie's pretty bemused.
Yeah. Do you follow suit, or do you hang back? What do you do?
I do follow this time.
Okay. And you listen as the wall behind you closes. And suddenly, illuminated in front of you is by what appear to be two kind of greenish gaslights, is a sign that reads in Mucha-esque type, "The Secret Bar." And it illuminates an oak paneled door. And he says, "Now, if I am bringing you here by virtue of my membership at this bar, if you would attend this bar, you must swear to its secrecy. And once you swear to its secrecy, you will be unable to tell anyone of its existence unless for the express purposes of membership. Do we understand each other?"
May I have a word with my friends? It'll only take a second.
Very well. And he turns and kind of waits by the door.
Maurice brings you all in close, and without any lightness or unseriousness in his eyes, he looks and says, "Look, this is the price that I promised to pay for the Guardian of the Blue. If any of you have any reservations about this, you don't have to go."
What exactly is it that you plan on doing with this man right now?
Taking him seriously, swearing to secrecy, and talking to him about why I've been asked to bring him back to the Blue. You all seem to have a prickliness about you, as if you're being forced into something you don't want to do. If it's not, then let me do it.
I'd like to know what it is that makes a goddess want any man.
I'd frankly like to know what it is that makes the three of you think that you're above a goddess. You would question it. So
Gav is just smiling.
if you would give him this oath to secrecy, give it to me that you believe in this. Because if not, I'll just do it by myself.
I think you've misunderstood me. I have no doubts that this is a serious matter for you.
Thank you, Gav.
But
the rest...
not every god is always forthcoming. I wouldn't be so quick just to give him up on the whim of a god.
I'm going to pay my price. I'm going to do right. by me. And I'm
I
asking the same of all three of you. Gav, I hear you're going to help. Thank you. Kyrrie, Twigg.
I was there with the Guardian, Maurice. You know that better than anyone.
Yeah, and you talked back to it. I couldn't believe it.
I don't see why we shouldn't proceed with what we told her. I feel like we should give him a fair hearing, but
Absolutely. And
why would we bail on this now?
I just meant that here is this figure leading us somewhere we do not know, asking us to swear oaths of secrecy. This is a price I pay freely, with no reservation. I sense hesitation in all of you, and I want you to decide now, for me, whether you think this is worth paying the price for you.
The oath of secrecy or the return of
The oath,
Mr. Fictorum?
the oath of secrecy is the tip of the iceberg. I'm willing to pay whatever it will cost.
I'm willing to see this through. That doesn't mean I'm going to subject myself to the will of somebody who claims to be a god by their own authority.
We'll talk more later. I think I've heard enough for now. Basil, we're ready. Thank you.
Very well. I will let Charisarda know that you are willing to undertake the oath. Come in. And he opens the door and walks in.
Can you repeat that name one more time?
Charisarda. Sarda. I know what it sounds like.
Yes. No bearing resemblance.
It's just it.
Well,
They can only say their own name.
It's not monstrous or seems like it could fit in a pocket, perhaps.
Maybe a little holographic.
oh my god. And just for that, and because you're entering the bar, not for any other reason, I'm gonna turn another card. This one is going to end up on the Invisible Sun and is going to be playable through the rest of the cycle. So it applies. This one is the Unknowable Truth. Oh my god. Meanings: truth, searching, futility. It accentuates the light of the indigo sun and it de-accentuates the gray. The raven stands watch over the unknown. As we strive for understanding, the closer we get to the truth, the farther away it becomes. We know this to be true, but only after we've made the journey. The truth we learn is that we cannot actually know the truth. At the very heart of the secrets family, the unknowable truth is the ultimate secret. The secret that cannot be, by its very nature, learned, but still we try anyway. It is futile, and yet it is productive. Even when you climb an infinite mountain, you're still moving forward. When the unknowable truth card is revealed, it affirms and advocates for a conclusion. However, it indicates futility regarding a plan. Otherwise, it means that the answer requires more searching, perhaps searching elsewhere. This is so... All right.
Prescient.
The foolish find the unknowable frustrating. I find it sustaining. Okay. Yeah, so... And it's perfect for the Secrets Bar. So you go in. I assume everybody's filing forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And as you go in, you find this very well-appointed bar. Okay. You find this very well-appointed bar that is basically, again, oak paneled with very lovely, lovingly crafted filigree, gilt filigree of all these kind of varieties of scenes of nature as well as kind of otherwise kind of magical origin, and you see that the filigree is moving and changing. It has this very large marble bar. It's almost like an oyster bar. It kind of circles around in a long oval, and this bar itself, it seems to be occupying a liminal space because there are people here, and its capacity is many times what are currently filling the room. There are these small switches on every side with a little pull chain attached, and you watch as one man pulls one of the pull chain to signify to basically turn on a green floating orb of light that kind of lingers above his head, at which point you see this shadowed figure, which you realize is identical to many shadowed figures moving around the bar and around kind of the kitchen area, and they seem to be blindfolded, and their lips almost kind of like waxed shut, as if by candle wax, and they are moving with great alacrity to whoever pulls the chain, and are dispensing, are taking down orders and dispensing drinks very quickly. You watch as Basil makes his way to, from the back, looks to be a woman wearing a very kind of fine silk dress, clad in a shawl with very large kind of spiked red hair. But as you grow closer and you move closer to this scene, you see her hair is actually feathers, and you get a feeling of a little bit of discomfort, Gavriel, as you realize as she turns, she has the head of a parrot. And he is gesturing towards all of you, and she is moving to kind of intercept you as you enter. Otherwise, there are a number of people, and you notice that most of these people are very well kind of dressed. Some of them more casual than others, but a lot of them just seem to be well-to-do, or seem to be just kind of like, it seems like they've dressed up for this occasion, and all of the attention is on the four of you. At which point, Basil steps forward and says, "Charisarda, these are my friends that I am naming for membership." And she looks you up and down, and she kind of is staring at you with her kind of like side parrot eye. And she says, "Well, normally we tend to do our memberships one at a time, Basil. But if they come with your recommendation, I suppose we can make an exception. Of course, you know they will need to undertake these. I know, yes. Yes, madam, I will make sure of it." And she says, "Very well. Let me know and we shall gather." And she turns back and goes to continue her business managing the bar. And he looks at all of you and says, "This way I have a private booth."
I think Kyrrie will have noticed the dress of some of the clientele. Is there like a restroom somewhere in vicinity that I could see fairly easily?
Absolutely. I think that, it's fairly, the filigree is identical for each, and you kind of understand that this is kind of a linked restroom. It's gender neutral.
Okay.
So basically but it looks very ritzy, but you can clearly see where the facilities are located.
I think Kyrrie just signals that she's going to be right back, and pops in the restroom and changes her outfit into something that she had packed away. And she comes out and rejoins the group in a very long, floor-length 1930s blue velvet gown with big puff shoulders and little fabric covered buttons that go all the way down. She goes, "There, now I feel a little bit more at home here."
Absolutely. You do that, and Basil is waiting patiently for you and says, and as soon as you sit down, he claps his hands, looks at you, and says, "So I imagine you have many questions."
Why don't you start by telling us what you think we need to know? Being the ignorant party of the two, maybe you could throw us a bone.
Well, it's my understanding that the forces are arrayed against you. I couldn't help but notice your struggles in the blue, and I felt the need to leave. And as he says this, Maurice, you remember as you were falling down the blue of a man in a bowler hat turning to look at you. off in the distance in the formless blue, and you realize that it is the same person. You literally saw him the moment you entered and met the Imperial Soul.
So, you know everything. You know what we're up against, and you left the blue to help us.
Well, yes, I suppose I did. I know when the game is afoot. Let us put it that way.
And what game might that be?
Well, it must be one of great significance if it requires the Imperial Soul to leave her refuge. And it is certainly something of even more importance if the Blue Sun Warden takes an interest in you.
Did you know Mara has an interest in you as well?
Oh, I have no doubt of it.
That's okay, boy.
And I think that at this point, he's been very upright and kind of forthright and very almost robotic. And the moment he hears Duncan whine, he brings a hand down and he scritches Duncan behind the ears and shh. It's all right.
MVP every time.
So I described to him how we made contact, made a sort of a second journey of sorts into the blue, and Mara asked me to pay the price, and the price was your return. Didn't come with a time frame, but she did say that you needed to go back.
Oh, I have.
What do you think of that?
Oh, I have no doubt that is something that she would request. I am of some interest in her, to her. I was born in the realm of ideas, and yet here I am. More flesh and bone than anything else. I'd hazard a guess.
How did that happen?
Well,
are you sure?
It's very often that imagination becomes reality, bringing the formless into form. That is the act of creation itself.
You would know something about that, wouldn't you, as someone who turns tales into reality?
Yeah, it seems a natural extension of the ability to turn a tale back in the gray.
Very well, yes, and I imagine that you do work a great deal with, at the very least, typing. I can tell from the ink on your fingers.
It's true. About you returning to the blue, is this something you want to do, would never do?
I'm afraid it is an inevitability, my friend.
Could you elaborate?
Well, I imagine that once a warden wants you to do something, I imagine there's no force in the actuality that could prevent you from doing it. I think I've only seen someone cross a warden once, maybe twice, in all of my fictional adventures, and I imagine that the truth is much stranger and worse than fiction, at least for what Edith had described.
Yes, what is your relationship with your creator?
I would hazard a guess that she is not, strictly speaking, my creator. I was born separately.
Are you saying that you appeared to her as some sort of muse, some sort of inspiration?
No, merely that I am not the Basil Cotton of the fiction that you may be familiar with. I have my own consciousness. I was born from the story, but I exist outside of it. I have many of the strictures of my character, but I have been able to bend and break the boundaries that were set forth by Edith. And while we are good friends, I imagine that she never could have believed that this would happen.
Born by whom, if not by Edith?
All that I know is that I was born in ashes, the text of an anthology burning around me.
What anthology?
The 1,000 Grandiloquent cases of Detective Basil Cotton.
So you were born out of a book burning.
I imagine that it was the kindling for the fire, so to speak.
How many books did we get in that set?
You guys got 30.
And so Maurice looks and says, I'm sorry, did you say 1,000?
Well, I imagine it's merely a turn of phrase to try to garner sales, but in all honesty, I imagine that Edith has dreamed up as many tales as are in that anthology. I'm sure you can probably find some of them in memory caches in the blue.
Interesting. So you left the blue, I assume without Mara's blessing, yes?
Yes, but strictly speaking, Yes, that is true.
And you came for us?
Absolutely. I felt compelled.
Well, clearly we need your help. Maybe the price I am repaying to... We were trying to find you in order for us to find more information, but if you're here to help and you know the forces against us, maybe you could tell us what we know. The swarm.
Yes, the Changing Swarm. I am familiar with them, having been turned around by some of their ilk, but also managing to dodge the whole scale of the breeding of the swarming grounds, so to speak. The Changing Swarm, they seem to be some sort of wildlife inherent to the Blue Sun. I could not tell you who would have the power to marshal such a thing, but anybody with significant enough power as a Vizsla or otherwise, and perhaps a demon, might be able to use them to their advantage.
Are we worried they might escape into the Indigo Sun?
There is always a hazard, but just the imagine trying to take 1,000 of those things to affect any kind of change within Indigo. And a significant disadvantage, I'd have to say, because this is the city of truth, as it were.
Indeed. Is the swarm related to Jaren the Devoured?
Hard to say. Anybody with significant enough power, and I believe Jaren might have some measure of ability.
And we hear his name quite a lot, but not many people seem to know exactly what this man is, or exactly what he's capable of. What do you know?
I've run across someone who is, in my fictional travels, somewhat similar. I believe it may have been the first venture I ever went on. The Idea Thief.
Zach, are you telling me that Moriarty is after us?
I was literally going to ask, because we've read 30 books. Is there a Moriarty to this dude?
Professor Rourke is the Moriarty.
Is he the Idea Thief?
Well, the Idea Thief in my travels, they were always serving Professor Rourke in some capacity. They were usually the lieutenant, as it were. But you would think that someone of your stature might understand what a Idea Thief might look like, my dear Twigg, being one yourself.
Yeah. That's You're saying that the Idea Thief is a Logivore?
It strikes me as a distinct possibility.
So let me get this straight. Rourke is fictional.
Yes.
The Idea Thief is fictional.
Yes.
Jaren the Devoured is real.
Very much so. I believe that you have a bullet that can attest to that.
Indeed, I do. Well, I did. So, what's to stop you achieve some sort of apotheosis and transition from the realm of fiction to the realm of reality?
Yes. Are you about to ask me what it is to stop my actual nemesis from coming from the same book?
It seems like a logical question to ask.
All I know is that someone of considerable power felt it was necessary for me to take my place here in the actuality. It stands to reason that someone of opposing mind could do the very same for Professor Rourke. However, I will tell you this much is true. I would know if Professor Rourke was made real on this actuality.
I'm a bit confused. You saw me in the blue, decided that we needed help, and left of your own accord and came here. But then you also said that somebody wanted you to be here, made you be here.
I'd like you to make an interaction roll.
Hell yeah.
Your difficulty is 10.
Do I?
Can I also burn hidden knowledge?
Absolutely.
And I'm not limited to burning one.
Mm-hmm. No, I think you are limited to burning 1 plus a benefit.
Okay. So I'm trying to get a 10. I can roll an 8 or higher. Ha-cha! That was a 2.
Okay. So I think that it's just, there's just something like you are already kind of making the conclusion, jumping to the conclusion that something doesn't add up here. Something about either their motivations or something about, how he came to be. It's all very confusing. It's very much like an unknowable secret, which is exactly the card that we pulled.
God damn it.
I mean, so... All right, out of game. So it makes sense to me that things would flow naturally from blue to indigo, right? That is the path of things.
Yeah, they are. You know from your experience thus far that indigo and the blue sun are adjacent to one another.
I mean, that all makes sense to me.
Is this a Roy G. Biv spectrum?
Absolutely.
Dope.
So yeah, I mean, as a fiction writer, I bring things into the actuality that previously were in the blue sun. Like this is the flow of things. So that's not necessarily the confusing part for me. I think it makes sense that getting the other way, the direction that we have been twice now, is the unnatural way to go. Yeah, I don't know, man. Okay, back in. Okay.
My mind, it be fucked.
So Maurice turns and looks to Basil and says, I mean, you said it yourself, you're here to help. Do you know what we should do next? How can you help us other than get us some pretty nice drinks?
That would be helpful, actually.
At which point he pulls the chain, and a thought form comes around, and he looks at the thought form, and he says, 5 enigmas, if you would. And the thought form leaves, and he goes back to looking at you and says, I will tell you this. I do believe that Jaren has some means of following you. I imagine from the bullet before, it was a fairly easy means for the creature to look through you and ascertain where you were without imbuing you with some sense of knowledge of the forces against you. However, because you've managed to dislodge this bullet, Jiren is taking more proactive measures in the form of mercenaries like the gentleman Luster that you've already met.
Oh, he was nothing. If you hadn't shown up and you'd given us an extra maybe 10 seconds, he would have been dust.
You say that.
I do.
Dust like his duster.
That's very funny.
At which point
I try.
he points at you and he says, do you realize that your location can be further ascertained by the location of an object that belongs to someone in particular who knows it very well?
I mean, I'm sure he was able to find me one time. He'll be able to find me again. But now I'll be wearing his shit when he shows up.
Which brings to mind a potential solution. As I've had my travels in the Actuality, and this is not the first time that I've broken free of the Blue Sun, I have met a number of underworld sources, as it were. I believe, Gavriel, you may be familiar vaguely with the sense of one gentleman known as King Nine. And Gavriel, you just know that King Nine is the equivalent of a mob boss. Like, just spoken about in hushed whispers as though he's a boogeyman.
If you're implying that I haven't had any direct dealings with a certain someone, then the answer is no, but I have heard of a certain someone.
Well, King Nine has his own agenda, one of which I believe conflicts quite directly with Jiren. We could, and I also know that as a Goetic, one who's quite powerful in the Goetia himself, he may have the means to hide you from divination.
He wants us to make a deal.
It is...
Wait. No, I was just like...
You said King Nine, whoever this person is, has agendas that conflict with Jiren?
Oh yes, I'm quite certain of it. Let's say a criminal mastermind, as it were, is a fairly territorial creature. It abides the presence of no other in its hunting grounds, as it were. And all of Saturnine is King Nine's hunting grounds.
Are you suggesting we play them against each other, Basil?
It's a dangerous game, but one I believe that you may benefit more from, in that it will dissolve, or at least stop the current threat, provided that you are able to provide King Nine some trade in kind.
We don't have much my way of trade.
You are of great interest to someone, more than just this Jiren. If you have gained the attention of the Imperial Soul, then it stands to reason that your skills are valuable, or whatever it is about yourselves that you have not yet realized is meaningful enough to garner such support. Or
This twigs something for Kyrrie, I think, in terms of what was said to them previously by the Guardian of the Blue, which was that Jiren the Devourer desires what we have, but might not remember. And so she shares that with Basil and says, is that what you're referring to? What we might not remember, but have?
yes. I mean, it is I would hazard a guess that one or all of you have access to some idea, some notion or information that is useful to King Nine, and to Jiren. And that knowledge is something that he would like to steal. And I think the fact that you do not know what it is offers you some measure of protection, but also some measure of weakness.
I'm inclined at this point to think it's protection.
So,
yeah, you can't steal an idea that you don't know.
Precisely.
Well, thank you for your counsel, Basil. Will we have your help in dealing with King 9 as well?
Certainly. I just need a couple of materials, and we can make the journey there. But, of course, you are going to have to swear yourselves to secrecy here before we do anything.
One thing, Basil. Something else that the Guardian said, and, you having faced an idea thief, perhaps this means something to you, or may. The Guardian said that to beat the idea thief, we must prove ourselves worthy of our name. Does that mean anything to you?
And he thinks for a moment. It's very familiar. I'd like you to make an interaction roll.
I'm going to throw a sortilege to help you.
I will also add an interaction bene.
Absolutely.
I still don't trust anything this dude says.
So that's a 7 on the dice,
Uh-huh.
plus 1 bene.
Well, actually, my sortilege gave you an extra die
Oh,
to roll.
all right. Well, cool. That's 8 and 3, so same result.
Okay. So the 8, I think, at this point, I think
9, I guess.
I think that this actually gives you a point of despair. Because I think you know that he's not telling you everything. He knows what it means. But this mask is unknowable. It's one of those things you realize that this is so far outside of your wheelhouse. The idea of fiction, of semantics and syntax and, sentence structure becoming a real live entity.
Mm-hmm.
It's disconcerting. It just kind of, it's an iniquity you cannot resolve. And I think that you take a despair as you kind of realize that's not the whole story. But at the same time that you realize that the whole story is potentially enormous. What do you guys do?
there's something about Basil that Gav is kind of not to say that she's like always like trusting right away, but he already surmised that I do jobs not necessarily on the up and up, which is, I don't know how he knows that unless he's been following me for a lot longer than he's been saying. But might be key to helping me figure out why this man is in my file. And that's what she cares about. So she's down.
All right. The rest of you?
I think for the moment, Kyrrie is going to keep her sort of feeling of deep discomfort and her realization that this isn't the whole story to herself. So she's going to kind of go along with that being what she would feel or looks to everyone else to be that she feels that's an acceptable reply.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one other thing that happens as you guys are kind of reaching this conclusion is that that thought form comes back, and the 5 enigmas are these emerald green drinks that seem to fizz and kind of produce almost like this dry ice kind of style mist, and each of them having a single black cherry toothpicked to the end.
There wouldn't happen to be any absinthe in these drinks, would there?
And he smiles and he says, well, I can't say for certain, and he winks. And he downs the drink fairly quickly, at which point he looks at the thought form, says, another, please.
Gav's gonna knock it back.
Mm-hmm.
Maurice says the same.
Twigg will do the same, but I maintain eye contact with him. Just kind of give him the not the stink eye, but the hairy eye.
Absolutely.
It's a well-known fact that Kyrrie loves absinthe, and it was one of her favorite drinks back in what was, the 1930s and that era. So she sips it very happily.
All right. At which point he says, "So, I have a contact within King Nine's court, as it were. She would be providing the means by which we might transport. He lives some miles south of Satyrine. This much I know is certain. That said, we should leave this bar only when we are prepared to make the journey, and only when we are confident that we can defend ourselves in any in the event of any interference, as it were."
I'd like to know how you know King Nine.
I saved his daughter.
All right.
Suffice to
And that's where the relationship starts and ends.
Why don't you tell me, Twigg, where you think it starts and ends? And he takes the second enigma that has already arrived, and he has signals to the thought form 4 more. And he just, that same eye contact that you made with him, he makes with you.
Like, you're not telling the full story here, which is especially ironic for a story character.
Do you think that I would have managed to work my way straight into Rourke's criminal sanctum if I had given away everything that I knew?
Well, you claim to be here to help us.
Are we your adversaries that you would need to hide your intent and your information?
Sorry, say that again. I didn't quite get it.
Are we your adversaries that you would hide information from us?
No, but I have to be certain.
I think Gav looks across the table at everyone and goes, "Do I tell you everything? And yet you take me with you everywhere."
I mean, you're kind of an assignment, but point taken.
That's your opinion.
I resemble that remark.
So, and Twigg, man, I'm just not buying this. Like, I don't.
Well, it is a common hallmark of fiction, Twigg, that you have to earn certain information. That's the point of a narrative journey.
You have to earn the right to be trusted too. And so far, all I've seen is someone who knows how to get into places and knows people who do criminal things. And
Very well. Twigg, what would you know that would get me? What would you like to know that I can tell you that would earn your trust?
Why are you really, really here?
I'm looking for my creator.
And that's not Edith?
No.
No, he already told us that.
The one who burned the book.
Yes.
The burner was the creator? We know this.
I cannot be certain. I woke in a pile of ashes.
And this was in the Indigo Sun?
This was in
where you woke?
The blue.
In the blue. In the blue.
This was in the blue.
So, at this point, you hear Twigg lowers the hammer on the hand cannon underneath the table, and tucks it back into the holster. Because this dude is anybody who I don't like people who jerk around other people for a living.
And as you put the hammer back down, you hear a second hammer click down as well.
Fair enough. We're all looking for something.
And I can drink to that.
And I'll cheers him with what remains of my drink.
Yep. And he says, do any of you have any other business in Satyrine before we venture outside?
You mentioned we weren't to leave the bar, or until we're ready to leave?
Until we're ready to leave for this sanctuary.
Outside the walls of the city.
Yes.
I've been wanting to get out there for some time.
I've never been.
It's a dangerous place, and that is why, under King Nine's protection, you might have the means by which you can explore, learn more.
But we have to see him first, and we're seeing the guy outside of the protection to see the King Nine. So it's the danger first, is what you're saying.
Yes, but our escort, if you wish it, will arrive. And we will be escorted to that sanctuary, but it's only when you are ready and if that is what you want.
Well, I don't much like being hunted, so the sooner we can get that off of our backs, the better.
I would like to, as much as I'm kind of enamored of this, I don't suppose the secret bar has lockers available.
Well, I imagine Charisarda would be very amenable to storing goods.
I'll totally stash the everything I took off, except for the. All right, I'll stash what I took off of Luster in this location. If that would be something that could be arranged, and as nice as I just hold up the big fuck off hand cannon. As nice as this is very exciting, by the way. I feel like I should probably exchange it for something a little less personal and owned.
Very well. In that case, I should summon Charisarda. We should get the rite of secrecy out of the way. What say you?
Agreed.
By all means.
All right.
Zach, what effect, if any, are the drinks having on us?
You are getting a little bit tipsy. It's kind of, I'd say, well, actually, you know what? I think that with the effects of absinthe, typically when you are, drinking a great deal of absinthe, there's probably, outside of kind of legal regulations of, contemporary society, you are getting these kind of little bits of hallucinations. And I think, Kyrrie, as you say that kind of unknowable nature rears its head as I think that one of the patrons, as you are watching kind of out of the corner of your eye, one of the patrons orders a drink, and as the thought form turns around, their face is covered in text as though they were the pages of a book.
Interesting. Can I read it?
Absolutely.
Do I have to roll, or is it just...
So would that be cannibalism, or...
Oh, no.
This is, I think that, definitely not cannibalism. But this is a hallucination. This is, yeah,
it's not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, let's actually...
So just regular cannibalism, Twigg.
Let me... Why don't you make me a perception roll?
Okay. It's a 3.
Okay. So, let me see. This is really interesting. As you read it, I think that on a 3 you only get the chapter title.
Hmm.
And as you are you scan it, and it says, how Balin, arrayed like a poor knight, pulled out the sword, which afterward was the cause of his death.
What was the name?
Balin, Balin. And I think that from your time in the Shadow, you recognize this is the second chapter of Book 2's title of Le Mort d'Arthur.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. And having made this observation, Charisarda, kind of comes up to the table, and she looks expectantly at Basil, and Basil looks back at you and says, I believe we're ready. And he nods. And at which point, Charisarda looks to the rest of the bar and calls out, who shall witness the induction of 4 new members to this, our secret bar? And a bunch of people are kind of, quietly minding their own business, looking into their drinks. And then slowly but surely, about 10 people raise their hand. And she says, I only need 5. At which point, a few put their hands down, but about 6 remain, and she just picks them at random. And she says, follow me. And she takes you into the back half of the bar, and she quietly asks the other patrons to move to the front side of the bar. And there's this open kind of floor that could be used for a dance floor, or kind of to hold court, or have some sort of salon or dance space. And she says, repeat after me.
Repeat after me.
And she winces when you say that, and she kind of turns her parrot head to look at you. And that eye kind of glares a little bit. This is the secret of the unknowable angel.
This is the secret of the unknowable angel.
That which consumes and that which protects.
That which
consumes and that which protects.
That those who hereby recognize this place.
That those who hereby recognize this place.
As a refuge would not mean it ill will.
As a refuge would not mean it ill will.
And who would desire sanctuary never utter its name or its location.
And who would desire sanctuary and never utter its name or location.
This is my secret, the secret bar.
This is
my secret, the secret bar.
And as you guys are repeating this, there's a charge in the air around you. And it forms kind of this stricture as you see it draw a line across each of your throats in bright green luminescent energy. And you feel the tie pass through your throat harmlessly. It's disconcerting, but it doesn't appear to do any damage to you. And finally, she puts her hands down, claps, and says, very well. Welcome new members to the secret bar. At which point, all of the patrons in the front room, as you look back, are holding there are drinks aloft, and she has a thought form bring what look to be these kind of small, like, ports in small glasses, and she offers them to you and looks expectantly.
I take it.
Yeah. Some unbreakable vow shit going on here.
Mm-hmm. At which point, yeah, she holds a toast to those who are the secret of this, our secret bar. And which point, everybody in the front room says, to the secret, and drink. And she looks and says, to the secret. And she drinks.
To the secret.
To the secret.
The secret.
And as night falls, as Basil talks animatedly about what to do next, you feel that for a while you have been treading water, unaware of how deep the pool goes. But now you realize, as you stand among raised drinks, among fictitious detectives that know more than they let on, and among your own unknowable truths and secrets, that this was not a pool or a pond, a brook. The depth of this secret is that of an ocean. And that's where we're going to leave today. So, guys, we're running a little long. I want to go ahead and let's do some character debriefs, unless we don't have time. I'm good
on.
Yeah, you're good? Everybody good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not super great, but okay.
All right, so let's do a quick round the table. Gavriel, how did you feel about today's session?
Pretty positive. I got to shoot somebody, and that always makes me happy. But I think Gav thinks that Basil's kind of neat. And like she said earlier, she's looking for something that can connect the dots with her own past and see why it's connected to everybody here, because she still doesn't feel that connection.
Mm-hmm.
So this is going to be helpful for her.
Absolutely. Take one joy and then one acumen for getting a hit on luster.
Woohoo.
Okay, Twigg, how did you feel about today's session?
I feel pretty like there was we found out information and some stuff that's, you know, very, I don't know, relevant to my survival, but not a lot that actually tells me anything about who I am. And in general, what we did find out was troubling. And I think this was a rocky fucking roller coaster for Twigg. There was a lot of ups and downs.
Do you feel like there was one overriding emotion?
I would say overall, Twigg feels like they know less than what they know what they don't know more than anything else after all this.
Okay.
Their ignorance has been foiled, as it were.
Take one despair and take one acumen for using the wicked key on luster.
Hoorah.
Yeah. Kyrrie, how did you feel about today's session?
Well, I think Kyrrie's had a lot of things challenged this episode in terms of assumptions, I think in terms of authority, for sure, as Basil has arrived. She was certainly happy and pleased about the news about her test and about being able to sort of take this as a take-home exam. But I think the appearance of Basil Fictorum in that way that he did appear, it feels almost predetermined to her, like it's too neat, it's too clean. He just happens to show up in the middle of a battle and whisk them away to a secret location and suddenly give them, almost route them on a specific narrative trajectory. It's almost as though it's been written for this. And that makes her feel very, very concerned in that her authority has been taken away, control has been taken away. And I think that not only does she not know how to compute that particularly well, but I think, as you said, Zach, she's used to semantics and syntax really being the order of the day, and to have suddenly this character appear out of that and take on some sort of consciousness or reality, it's deeply concerning to her. And she knows that he's not what he appears from the second he said that he is using a revolver and not the pistol that he's known to have used.
Absolutely. I think that absolutely you take 1 despair and take 1 acumen as well for managing to clamp down on Luster and blind him. Finally, Maurice, how did you feel about today's session?
Maurice is not doing so great. He's not bothered at all by Basil. The fictional things become real all the time. This is, maybe not as literally as in this case, but for Maurice, this is congruous with his worldview. But he feels frustrated, whereas before, basically before God appeared and said, "Hey, God's real," and that was really great because it took all the guesswork away for what Maurice needed to do and what he needed to believe. And he's frustrated that his companions don't seem to see the miracle in this and see the path forward. He was wounded in the fight. I think this is probably the first time he's ever been shot at. And kind of scared himself with his anger and was frightened at the violence of the card golem. And lastly, he's about to leave Saturnine to go work with the mob lord. He's leaving behind Ashwin and his home and his job and all the small things that came up that in the opera house that he feels strongly compelled to help with, and he's going to instead leave Saturnine entirely. So Maurice is in a bad way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you take 1 point of despair and take 1 acumen as well for your quick move with the ephemera against Luster. So, guys, I know we're running long. Let's go ahead and do a round quick shout outs or kind of let people know where we can find each other. Marcy, where can people find you?
Oh, as usual, you can find me on Tumblr, that wonderful place. I'm Experimental Madness there, like I am here. I'm never on Twitter, but you never know. If you talk to me maybe once in a blue moon, I'll respond. That's where you can find me right now. And
Hopper, where can people find you?
They can find me at Fail Deadly with a 3 instead of an A. On most social media platforms. I'm occasionally on Twitter. I am also occasionally on Tumblr, where I post pictures of minis and terrain building,
awesome,
and stuff like that.
Marissa, where can people find you?
I am Critical Kitten on most platforms, Twitch, Discord. Sometimes there's a hyphen or an underscore in there. Sometimes there's not. Instagram is Critical Kitten as well, except for Twitter, where I am Marissa Coors, all one word, and tend to just rant about philosophy and Invisible Sun and other cool things like that. And yeah, check me out there.
And finally, Bill, where can people find you?
On Discord, I am at GhostSpike, and that's where you can find me.
Awesome. And I am Zach, otherwise known as Great Zamino. You can find me on Twitter as well as on Discord as Great Zamino. On top of that, guys, we have a couple things coming up. We are, you can go ahead and join us on the Discord, which I'm going to add here. And not only that, you can also check out the first 5 episodes, and I believe all 8 first episodes are going to be up on YouTube fairly soon this week, along with episode 9. And finally, on top of that, we got some really interesting stuff in the form of side scenes, which are going to be formatted and then put in the Discord and perhaps other places, depending on where it makes the most sense. So look for that.
I'd like to add, Twigg already has a playlist on Spotify. We'll make sure that that's reposted in the Discord, and I just did work on Maurice's, and that'll be ready very shortly.
Awesome. And
Yeah.
And yeah, guys, this one was a really kind of tempestuous episode. So remember that even when it is darkest, I hope that the invisible light, the light of the invisible sun shines on you all. Thanks and good night.